a boy feels that the school day is unusually exhausting, and on his way home from school, he suggests stopping by a certain place with a girl before they head back together. The girl already has the same place in mind because it suddenly becomes popular among students recently, and she considers visiting it after school at some point later. The boy casually mentions that if neither of them goes there very soon, they will probably forget about the place entirely after a few days pass by. Even so, he also assumes that the location is most likely crowded because of how quickly people begin talking about it now. While they continue walking together, the boy with glasses is suddenly bumped into by another boy who happens to pass by without paying any attention to his surroundings. The girl immediately notices what happens and asks if the passing boy has just crashed into the boy with glasses hard. The boy with glasses becomes startled by the sudden concern directed toward him there. The girl calmly explains that the passing boy probably fails to notice him and accidentally runs into him without any bad intention at all. Because of that, she asks the boy with glasses if he can forgive the careless mistake completely. The boy with glasses assures her that he is fine, although he quietly admits to himself that the situation feels a little frightening inside. Hearing that kind response makes the girl feel relieved and happy. She then reveals that she actually belongs to the same class as the boy with glasses, whose name is Kasaka here. She also mentions that this is the first time she ever hears Kasaka's voice properly, and she openly accepts his gentle presence without hesitation. After saying that, she lets out a light laugh that leaves Kasaka feeling even more surprised and, not long after, the girl walks toward the boy who bumps into Kasaka earlier and warns him to pay more attention to the people walking around him, because he keeps crashing into others so carelessly. The boy responds with confusion and questions when exactly he even bumps into anyone else. He then casually asks the girl, whose name is Mickey, whether she is free today and whether she already has any plans with her boyfriend. Mickey calmly answers that she already breaks up with her boyfriend, which means she has free time right now. One of her female friends reacts with visible shock after hearing that news, because she cannot believe Mickey separates from someone like Yamasaki Kento, a well-known Japanese actor and model. Despite the surprised reaction around her, Mickey dismisses the matter and says that it is nobody else's personal business. From a distance, Kasaka quietly watches the whole interaction unfold. His expression carries a mixture of sadness, embarrassment, and admiration as he looks at Mickey and becomes deeply aware of how beautiful she really is. Even though he keeps some distance from the group, his attention naturally remains fixed on her completely. Later in the classroom, several students notice the duty schedule written on the blackboard, showing that the student responsible for class duties that day is Miki Ajiha herself. Miki herself soon realizes it as well too. One of the boys in class offers to help her write the class journal, but Miki immediately refuses and says that she probably only writes a few random words anyway then. From afar, Kasaka silently observes the conversation and finally realizes that the girl he meets earlier that morning is actually named Miki Ajiha now. The realization stays in his mind even after the moment passes away. A little later, Kasaka walks out of the classroom while checking Yamasaki Kento's social media account on his phone closely. After looking through it for a while, he unconsciously compares himself to the famous actor and begins examining his own appearance through his reflection there. Kasaka slowly removes his glasses as he stares at himself for a short moment. However, the instant he hears two girls nearby laughing while walking past him, he quickly puts his glasses on again, as if trying to hide himself once more secretly. Some time later, Kasaka arrives at the classroom with a noticeably different appearance today. The moment he steps inside, several students begin wondering who just enters the room now. A few of them eventually realize that the person standing there is actually Kasaka, and they immediately question what happens to him then. His usual appearance changes enough to catch everyone's attention, especially because he no longer wears his old glasses. Without wasting much time, Kasaka walks directly toward Miki and calls out to her loudly. Miki quickly recognizes that the person standing in front of her is indeed Kasaka, though she becomes visibly surprised after noticing that he removes his glasses completely. The change in his appearance leaves a strong impression on her, and she openly reacts to how different he looks right now. Gathering his courage, Kasaka suddenly confesses that he really likes Miki. The unexpected confession instantly shocks her deeply. At the same time, the surrounding students who overhear the words also react with great surprise. One student quickly realizes that Kasaka changes his appearance because of Miki and even chooses to confess his feelings right there in the crowded classroom. Another student comments that something like this is normally supposed to happen outside the classroom, instead of in front of everyone else. Miki looks directly at Kasaka and asks whether he is truly confessing his deep feelings to her. She also asks if he changes his appearance specifically for her own sake. Unable to understand his sudden actions completely, Miki questions why he decides to do all of this now. Kasaka falls completely silent there. The situation becomes even harder for him because Miki steps closer toward him, causing him to panic more internally. As she studies his reaction, Miki casually comments that this kind of behavior feels completely unlike the Kasaka. The classroom suddenly grows quiet after hearing her bold words. Feeling overwhelmed, Kasaka slowly turns his face away from her completely. Miki then asks why Kasaka stops talking after confessing his love. She curiously wonders what he plans to say after admitting his true feelings. Hearing those questions only makes Kasaka even more terribly flustered. His face immediately turns red from pure amazement. After struggling to calm himself, Kasaka finally lowers his head and desperately asks Miki if she is willing to date him now. The students watching nearby become even more shocked after realizing that Kasaka is genuinely confessing to Miki without holding anything back today. One of the boys in the classroom asks what kind of answer Miki plans to give him. To everyone's surprise, Miki responds that the idea actually sounds very nice. She even suggests exchanging contact information with Kasaka right now. The answer leaves Kasaka completely stunned there. The same boy questions whether Miki is truly serious about this, but Miki firmly confirms that she means every word she says honestly. Miki then begins explaining something important to Kasaka. She admits that she already starts thinking about him from the moment they meet earlier today. As she speaks, she gently touches Kasaka's hair, carefully observing his face at a closer distance now. Miki tells him that the shape of his eyebrows looks really beautiful. She also guesses that Kasaka probably wants to change his appearance, yet subconsciously chooses not to hide his eyebrows because they are one of his most attractive features. Hearing such direct observations from her causes Kasaka's heart to race even faster now. His face grows redder, while panic completely takes over his entire thoughts. In his confusion, Kasaka accidentally tilts his head upward, causing Miki's hand to cover both of his eyes for a brief moment there. The sudden closeness overwhelms him instantly inside. Unable to handle the situation anymore, Kasaka panics and abruptly runs away from Miki, leaving her startled by his sudden reaction. After watching him leave, Miki's face slowly turns red as well too. Her expression resembles the look of someone who just discovers a brand new toy that unexpectedly captures her full interest. The boy who questions her earlier asks whether everything that just happens is simply a bad joke. Miki immediately responds by asking why she would agree to date Kasaka if she is only joking around like this. The boy then explains that he does not mean to insult Kasaka, but from his perspective, Kasaka feels almost like a dark shadow. Even inside the classroom, Kasaka often seems so quiet and unnoticed that it almost feels as if he is not there at all anymore. Because of that, the boy cannot imagine someone like Kasaka matching well with Miki at all. Miki calmly responds that she already mentions earlier that she breaks up with her previous boyfriend because she constantly feels less popular compared to him always. However, she never wants to force herself to change just to match someone else, and that difference eventually becomes the sole reason their relationship ends. Because of those feelings, Miki admits that Kasaka's confession feels strangely beautiful to her now. She continues by saying that she likes boys she can play around with and tease a little, which is exactly why she becomes interested in trying to date Kasaka seriously. Meanwhile, outside the classroom, Kasaka walks through the hallway alone while desperately trying to calm the intense pounding in his anxious chest. Night eventually arrives, and after finishing her bath, Miki notices a new message from Kasaka on her phone. The message contains a polite thank you from him, because Miki accepts his confession earlier that day gladly. Kasaka also writes that if there is ever anything Miki wants to talk about, she can contact him anytime without any hesitation. Along with that, he carefully asks for Miki's home address as well tonight. Reading the message leaves Miki feeling slightly amazed, because Kasaka turns out to be far more serious about their relationship than she initially expects now. Even so, she does not particularly mind sharing her address with him there. At the same time, she quietly becomes curious about the reason Kasaka asks for it then. In her mind, she wonders if he plans to pick her up the next morning before school starts. The thought alone already sounds surprisingly enjoyable to her inside. The following morning, Miki suddenly wakes up because someone calls out to her loudly. The person excitedly informs her that her boyfriend arrives to pick her up, and even asks Miki to properly introduce him later today. Hearing that immediately shocks Miki, because Kasaka actually comes to her house exactly as she imagines before. As Miki heads toward the front door to greet him, her mother suddenly stops her and warns her not to open the door immediately yet. Miki becomes confused and argues that she only intends to answer the door normally now. However, instead of explaining further, her mother simply tells her to head toward the kitchen instead directly. Once Miki arrives at the kitchen, she finds Kasaka already standing there, while holding a spatula in his right hand. Kasaka calmly greets her, as if nothing unusual happens there. The sight leaves Miki completely stunned, because Kasaka does not simply come to pick her up for school today. Instead, he somehow enters the house early in the morning, and even prepares breakfast for her personally. Miki's mother happily comments that Kasaka behaves very kindly toward her since the moment he arrives, which makes her feel extremely pleased with him now. Confused by the statement, Miki asks what exactly her mother means here. Her mother then explains that Kasaka says he wants to cook breakfast for Miki, and because of that sincere request, she allows him to come inside the house warmly. After some time passes, Kasaka finally finishes cooking and nervously asks Miki to taste the food he prepares for her lovingly. Miki stares at the breakfast in amazement, and begins wondering if Kasaka might actually be better at cooking than she is now. As she looks at him, she remembers how he changes his appearance just to confess his feelings to her the previous day. And now he even wakes up early to cook breakfast for her too. From Miki's perspective, Kasaka suddenly begins to feel surprisingly cool now. While Miki quietly tastes the food, Kasaka anxiously asks how it tastes directly. He also explains that the dish turns out fairly good when he practices, making it the previous night alone. Instead of answering immediately, Miki simply continues eating, while silently thinking that Kasaka is far more interesting than she first assumes before. After a short pause, Miki finally tells him that the food tastes good indeed. She also asks whether Kasaka is actually very skilled at cooking food. Kasaka quickly denies that idea and explains that he is not especially talented there. According to him, all he really does is follow recipes carefully always. Even after hearing that explanation, Miki still praises the food and casually comments that Kasaka's appearance today also looks good on him now. Kasaka then admits that he searches online for references about the kind of boys Miki likes most. More specifically, he explains that he does not exactly search for Miki's preferences directly, but instead looks at celebrities who resemble Miki's former boyfriend closely. The explanation surprises Miki deeply. She immediately realizes that Kasaka intentionally copies that style, and Kasaka honestly confirms it now. He explains that while searching through different photos online, he eventually finds pictures of Miki's ex-boyfriend, wearing clothes similar to the outfit he currently has on today. Hearing that makes Miki quietly think that her former boyfriend really is a professional model after all this. Kasaka continues explaining that one of his neighbor's friends happens to own clothes like these, so he borrows the outfit instead of buying it himself personally. Miki then asks about the age of Kasaka's neighbor and wonders if the person is older than him there. Kasaka becomes visibly confused by the question now. Miki explains that if someone willingly lends him clothes like this, then the outfit must already be quite old by. Kasaka awkwardly reveals that the neighbor he talks about is actually a girl around the same age as him here. Hearing that answer causes Miki to pause for a moment while trying to process his words properly now. In the end, she quietly concludes that the people surrounding Kasaka are probably a little unusual themselves. Not long after, Mickey's mother enters the room again and apologizes for interrupting the two of them now. She reminds them that if they do not start getting ready soon, they will end up late for school today. Only then does Mickey suddenly remember that she still has classes to attend that morning there. After finishing breakfast and preparing themselves, Mickey and Kasaka finally leave together for school now. On the way to school, Mickey calmly tells Kasaka that starting tomorrow, and from then on, he does not need to make breakfast for her anymore at all. Hearing that immediately surprises Kasaka, and he nervously asks whether his actions bother her in some way personally. Mickey quickly explains that she does not dislike it at all inside. However, she feels that waking up early and preparing breakfast every morning must be difficult for him there. While listening to her response, Kasaka quietly thinks that Mickey is an incredibly kind person indeed. At the same time, Mickey watches his expression and silently finds Kasaka unexpectedly interesting now. As they continue walking together, Mickey mentions that her mother seems to like Kasaka very much already then. Because of that, she casually invites him to visit her house again after school later that day together. Kasaka immediately reacts with excitement and eagerly agrees to the invitation gladly. He even points out that it has not been 3 full days since they officially start dating each other. Hearing that suddenly makes Mickey realize something important. She remembers that the reason Kasaka comes to her house that morning is probably because they just become a couple recently now. Kasaka looks confused after hearing her reaction there. Moments later, Kasaka recalls everything he does earlier that morning at Mickey's house, including entering her kitchen and cooking breakfast for her family personally. The memory causes him so much embarrassment that he internally swears never to attempt something like that again anymore. Mickey laughs softly after seeing his reaction and tells him that she understands how he feels inside. She also reassures him that he does not need to worry because she genuinely does not mind what he does earlier today. At that moment, Kasaka suddenly grabs Mickey's hand and firmly tells her that their relationship is not a joke, so he wants her to take things like this seriously now. Mickey immediately falls silent after hearing those words deeply. A second later, Kasaka finally realizes that he is holding Mickey's hand tightly. Startled by his own actions, he quickly lets go and repeatedly apologizes to her sincerely. Feeling embarrassed, he says that he probably says something strange again, and even begins wondering whether he should shave his hair as a form of apology instead. Mickey becomes visibly confused by his train of thought here. She points out that Kasaka only changes his appearance 2 days ago, yet now he already wants to change it again completely. Completely unsure of himself, Kasaka asks what exactly he should do instead then. Mickey tells him that he does not need to shave his hair, and he also does not need to come pick her up every single morning anymore. Right after saying that, she steps closer toward him and begins fixing his necktie, while casually mentioning that she notices since earlier that he seems surprisingly bad at tying a tie properly there. Inside her mind, Mickey admits to herself that she dislikes leaving things unfinished or messy always. Even so, she also realizes that her actions probably end up frightening Kasaka again now. Meanwhile, Kasaka becomes visibly startled the moment Mickey suddenly moves close to him there. He instinctively leans away from her while internally panicking and wondering why she suddenly closes the distance between them without warning first. Later in the classroom, Mickey quietly realizes once more that less than 3 days pass since she and Kasaka start dating, and Kasaka only confesses his feelings to her the previous day honestly. The speed at which everything changes feels strangely unusual to her now. While sitting in class, Mickey also keeps feeling that there is something important she wants to say to Kasaka directly. She repeatedly tries to remember what it is, because she knows it is something she genuinely wants to tell him now. However, no matter how hard she thinks about it, the words refuse to come back to her memory completely. After classes finally end, Kasaka approaches Mickey and asks whether she wants to walk home together right after school. As he speaks to her, he notices a piece of paper in her hand and curiously asks what she is holding at that moment. Mickey answers that it is nothing important for him now. She simply explains that there is something she desperately wants to tell Kasaka, yet for some reason she cannot remember what it is anymore in her mind. Hearing that explanation naturally makes Kasaka curious about what she is trying so hard to recall right now instead. At the same time, Miki quietly remembers the moment from the previous day when Kasaka sincerely asks her to date him without any hesitation. Meanwhile, Kasaka internally worries that Miki might suddenly decide to break up with him on only their second day together in this relationship. After spending some time lost in thought, Miki finally apologizes for making Kasaka wait for her for so long. She then gently invites him to walk home together down the street. After returning to their respective homes, Miki continues thinking about the thing she wants to say to Kasaka on that day. No matter how much she tries to organize her thoughts, she still cannot fully remember what the important words are supposed to be at all times. At the same time, she also begins questioning herself about why she even feels the need to say something like that to him in the first place without a reason. Even after night falls, the thought continues lingering in her mind throughout the evening. Meanwhile, Kasaka spends the evening feeling anxious and uneasy on his own inside his room. The next day at school, Miki still fails to remember what she wants to tell him after all this. While she remains distracted by that lingering feeling, Kasaka suddenly apologizes to her for his actions. He explains that he feels as though he keeps troubling her and assumes that Miki is struggling to say something difficult to him about their future. Confused, Miki asks what exactly he thinks she wants to say to him now. Kasaka carefully explains that he understands their relationship begins mostly because he is the one who asks Miki out first in the beginning. Because of that, he believes Miki accepts him based on his own wishes, rather than her own feelings about this matter. He then quietly says that he is already prepared to be dumped whenever Miki decides she no longer wants to date him any longer now. Hearing those words shocks Miki immediately in the classroom. Kasaka continues speaking, and even says that if Miki truly no longer wants to see him, he is willing to transfer to another school away from here, as long as she gives him a little time first to pack up. He explains that he can contact his parents right away if necessary for his plan. Miki instantly asks him in a firm tone what exactly he is talking about at this moment. Kasaka looks confused by her reaction and points out that he assumes Miki wants to tell him something important all this time since they met. Realizing his misunderstanding, Miki finally understands that Kasaka spends the past few days worrying about being rejected by her completely. Surprised, Miki quickly tells him that he completely misunderstands the situation between the two. Kasaka immediately apologizes again after hearing that direct statement now. Miki then calmly explains her feelings to him directly. She reminds Kasaka that this is only the third day since they begin dating, and because of that, she still does not know very much about him yet as a person. Regarding her decision to accept his confession, Miki honestly admits that Kasaka is correct about one thing in his assumption. Before his confession, she does not actually fall in love with him at that time. Instead, she simply finds him interesting enough that she wants to accept his feelings and try dating him for a while. The honest explanation instantly causes Kasaka's face to turn red from pure embarrassment. Miki continues speaking and tells him that now she genuinely wants to learn more about him, which is why she asks him not to misunderstand her intentions anymore from this day. Kasaka finally begins to understand what she means, though his face only grows redder from embarrassment and relief at the same. As Miki watches him, she notices that Kasaka somehow looks happy despite the fact that she is technically scolding him right in front. The sight leaves a strange impression on her for some reason. Miki then points out that Kasaka also knows very little about her as a person in real life. She quietly asks whether he might end up hating her if he learns more about who she truly is behind the scenes. Without hesitation, Kasaka answers that he could never hate Miki under any condition. Miki asks what he means by that response with a smile. Kasaka honestly explains that he simply cannot imagine himself ever hating her no matter what happens in their future. Hearing such a straightforward answer causes Miki to think that Kasaka trusts her far too easily without any doubt. A moment later, Miki reminds him that he already changes his appearance recently, so she wants him to feel more confident about his new look from now on. She even points out that Kasaka now wears earrings as part of that change to his style. Suddenly, Miki remembers something important about the school. She quickly tells Kasaka that today is the school's uniform inspection day for all students. Hearing that immediately surprises him in a shock. Kasaka explains that his previous school does not have strict rules regarding appearance or clothing, so he genuinely does not know that wearing earrings is forbidden at this school by the teachers. Morning arrives as the sound of an alarm suddenly fills Kasaka's room with loud noise. Still half asleep, Kasaka slowly wakes up and reaches for his phone to turn the alarm off at this time. Before leaving his bed, he casually greets his pet gecko, Junpei, as part of his usual routine every single day. After that, Kasaka steps out of his room and is immediately greeted by his mother, who notices that he wakes up unusually early that morning for some reason. Kasaka politely greets her back before quietly sitting down to eat breakfast in the kitchen. Once he finishes eating, he begins preparing himself to leave for school with great care. Before heading out, he briefly checks his phone one more time to see messages. As Kasaka walks outside, he realizes that he probably arrives much earlier than necessary for his classes. While wandering around the area, he notices a young boy wearing a cap walking nearby on the street. At the same time, Kasaka suddenly remembers that Miki mentions there are many things she wants to tell him recently about their relationship. Not long afterward, Kasaka notices the boy skillfully building a detailed sand structure in the park. The level of detail immediately catches his attention because the structure strongly resembles the Taj Mahal in real life. At that moment, Miki suddenly appears from behind and asks what exactly they are making together right now. Both Kasaka and the boy casually answer that it is the Taj Mahal made of sand. However, Miki quickly clarifies that she is not asking about the sand structure itself at this place. What she actually wants to know is when Kasaka arrives there, because the two of them are supposed to meet at 8 o'clock sharp this morning. Kasaka awkwardly explains that he simply wakes up too early that morning without any purpose. Only then does Kasaka fully register Miki's presence beside him on the path. Somehow, her sudden appearance creates an oddly overwhelming atmosphere around him at that second. When he finally turns toward her properly, Miki immediately becomes shocked after realizing that Kasaka's clothes and face are covered in mud and sand from the ground. Without hesitation, Miki tells him to come wash his face at her house right away now. Kasaka looks startled by the invitation at first, but after recovering, he politely says goodbye to the boy in the cap before following her down the road. As they walk away, Miki asks who the boy actually is to him personally. Kasaka explains that the child is an elementary school student and that he occasionally plays in the sand with him in the mornings before school starts. Hearing that only strengthens Miki's opinion that Kasaka has a strangely unusual social circle around his life. Miki then asks whether Kasaka often spends his mornings doing random things like this on a daily basis. However, instead of answering, Kasaka suddenly notices how dirty his clothes become at that moment. Embarrassed, he apologizes for causing trouble again to her family. When they finally arrive at Miki's house, Miki's mother welcomes them inside the front door. The moment she sees Kasaka covered in dirt, she becomes surprised and jokingly assumes that there must be heavy rain outside that morning in the area. Kasaka quickly explains that the weather is actually completely clear today, without any clouds. He then honestly describes what happens earlier, allowing Miki's mother to understand that he simply spends time building a sandcastle-like structure in the park with his friend. As he continues explaining, Kasaka begins talking enthusiastically about the Taj Mahal itself with pure joy. He even casually mentions that one day he wants to visit the Palace of Versailles as well in the future. Meanwhile, inside her mind, Miki quietly dislikes how situations around Kasaka always spiral into unpredictable directions whenever she brings him home to her house. A moment later, Miki's mother tells Kasaka that he can use the bathroom to clean himself properly with warm water. Kasaka immediately thanks her politely for the kindness. Meanwhile, Miki decides to prepare a towel and some spare clothes for him to change into. Not long after, Miki's mother says goodbye because she needs to leave for work at her office. Before leaving, she cheerfully tells Miki and Kasaka to enjoy themselves at home together for a while. At the same time, she reminds them not to end up late for school on this day. Kasaka politely responds to her reminder, while Miki quietly begins panicking internally inside her mind. Once her mother finally leaves the house, Miki suddenly becomes aware of something she never seriously thinks about before in her life. Kasaka is still a boy from her class, after all, in reality now. Until now, she never consciously views him that way because, in her mind, Kasaka resembles something closer to a loyal dog than an ordinary boy at all times. Trying to distract herself, Miki begins searching through clothes for Kasaka to wear in her room. She initially picks one of her older brother's shirts, but then hesitates because the size seems much too large for Kasaka at this moment. After deciding on what to bring, Miki walks toward the bathroom and carefully opens the door slightly while calling Kasaka's name out loud there. Her sudden appearance startles him immediately in the shower. Miki quickly explains that she leaves the towel and clothes there for him to use right away now. Kasaka thanks her once again for helping him with his clothes. As she steps away from the bathroom, Miki tells Kasaka that she will wait outside, so if he needs anything at all, he only has to call for her loudly enough from the room. Kasaka quietly agrees to her words. Left alone with her thoughts for a moment, Miki remembers the strange comments her mother makes earlier, and those words only make her feel even more nervous inside her heart. Still, she desperately tries calming herself down by convincing herself that there is absolutely nothing to worry about at this house. After all, the only person inside the house with her is Kasaka at that time. Suddenly, Kasaka appears from behind Miki without making much noise, causing her to jump in surprise at that second. Kasaka calmly explains that there are 2 towels inside the bathroom, and he honestly does not know which one he is supposed to use for himself now. Still startled and internally panicking, Miki hurriedly tells him that he can simply use whichever towel he prefers at that place. Kasaka awkwardly responds that he somehow feels guilty about using them in the first place without her permission. Meanwhile, inside her thoughts, Miki feels as though her heart almost stops after seeing Kasaka suddenly appear half-dressed like that right in front. As she looks at him more carefully, she realizes that Kasaka is actually not lacking in appearance at all in any way. In fact, he looks fairly attractive without noticing it himself at this moment. Because of that realization, Miki briefly wonders whether it is rude for her to keep thinking of him the same way she would think about a dog in her mind. However, the moment Kasaka casually shakes his wet hair dry, Miki immediately ends up thinking that he resembles a dog again anyway in her eyes. Trying to regain her composure, Miki tells him once more to use any towel he likes for his bath. She also urges him to hurry up and dry himself properly after finishing his bath right away now. While waiting for him, Miki opens line and messages one of her friends to ask whether classes already begin at school for today's lesson. Her friend quickly replies that class has not started yet at this time. Reading the message instantly relieves Miki because it means she and Kasaka are not late after all for their classes. After finishing in the bathroom, Kasaka joins Miki again and politely thanks her for allowing him to use the shower at her house. Miki casually responds that it is not a problem at all for her family. A moment later, Miki hands Kasaka his school bag, while quietly observing the oversized clothes he borrows from her older brother on his body. At first, she thinks the shirt is obviously too large for him, but after looking more carefully, she realizes that the outfit actually does not look bad on Kasaka at all in reality now. Somehow, it unexpectedly suits him very well indeed. Miki honestly tells him what she thinks, and while looking at him, she suddenly asks for permission to take a photo of him with her phone. Kasaka, although slightly confused, agrees without resisting to her request. After Miki snaps the picture, Kasaka curiously asks what she is doing with his photo. Miki casually explains that she plans to upload his photo to Instagram for her followers. Hearing that answer immediately surprises him in a shock. Later at school, one of Miki's male classmates notices the Instagram post she uploads on her account. The picture shows Kasaka's body without including his face, accompanied only by the caption dog on the screen. Seeing the post leaves the boy confused as he wonders what exactly the photo has to do with a dog at all in this context. In class 2-2, Miki notices Kasaka checking through his school bag with a troubled expression. So she asks what is wrong with him today. Kasaka explains that the first lesson of the day is classical literature, but he realizes that he forgets to bring his textbook for the class. Because of that, he immediately plans to head to the staff room before class starts in a hurry. Miki becomes curious and asks why he needs to go there at this moment. Kasaka calmly explains that he wants to inform the teacher about forgetting his book before the lesson begins for the day. Miki then tells him that he can simply borrow her textbook instead of going there. Her sudden suggestion catches Kasaka off guard for a moment in the classroom. Miki quickly explains that lending him her book is actually what she wants to say earlier, but she only just remembers that they are in the same class. After thinking for a moment, she comes up with another idea and suggests borrowing an extra textbook from one of her friends in a different classroom. The two of them then head to the neighboring class together. Miki asks one of her female friends for help, and thanks to that, Kasaka is able to get through the class without any problems. While walking back, Miki quietly wonders about Kasaka's life at school. She finds it strange that he rarely seems to interact with other students, and she starts questioning whether he ever talks casually with friends during school at all. She cannot help wondering how he manages to spend his school days like that for so long. Eventually, Miki asks him directly whether he ever feels lonely. Kasaka answers honestly that loneliness is not really something he spends much time thinking about, so he does not know how to respond to that question. Even so, he admits that spending time together with Miki feels genuinely enjoyable to him right now. Hearing that unexpected answer immediately makes Miki turn her face away. Her cheeks begin turning red before she even realizes it herself. At that moment, she suddenly feels strangely protective toward Kasaka, almost as if she wants to protect the gentle smile he shows so naturally. Trying to hide her embarrassment, Miki changes the topic and asks whether Kasaka has any plans after school. Kasaka replies that he does not have anything planned. Miki then asks whether he likes ramen, and after hearing him say that he does, she casually invites him to eat ramen together after school. Once school ends, the two of them head to a ramen restaurant together and place their orders. At the restaurant, Miki confidently orders an extremely spicy supreme Tantman ramen that is described as being straight from the depths of hell. The bowl arrives covered almost entirely in deep red broth, and the appearance alone shocks Kasaka. Miki casually tells him that it only looks intense like that. Even so, Kasaka still feels that the ramen seems unbelievably excessive, although the aroma itself already feels rich and appetizing. Exactly what someone would expect from a good bowl of ramen. As they prepare to eat, Kasaka suddenly becomes distracted by Miki without even meaning to. While picking up her ramen, Miki casually brushes her hair aside before leaning closer to the bowl. That small movement unexpectedly makes Kasaka's face grow red. Meanwhile, Miki simply starts eating her ramen normally, while Kasaka remains frozen in place, quietly watching her from across the table. After taking several bites, Miki brushes her hair aside once again as heat slowly causes sweat to appear on her face. She mentions that the ramen is really hot. She gently blows on the noodles to cool them down before eating again. However, moments later, she exhales visible steam from her mouth because the ramen still turns out to be hotter than she expects. Kasaka watches the entire scene in complete amazement without realizing how obvious his reaction becomes. Eventually, Miki notices him staring and asks what exactly he is doing and why he still has not started eating his own ramen. Miki then quietly leans closer and whispers that the noodles at this restaurant become soft very quickly if they are left alone for too long. Hearing her speak so closely like that immediately makes Kasaka's heart race, and his reaction ends up amusing Miki enough to make her laugh. Not long after that, Miki offers some of her ramen to Kasaka and even tries to feed him herself. Kasaka hurriedly refuses, but Miki continues pushing the idea playfully until he finally gives in and tastes her ramen. To his surprise, the flavor actually tastes very good despite the overwhelming appearance. After that, Miki becomes interested in Kasaka's ramen as well and decides to try some from his bowl. Kasaka is completely caught off guard when she casually tastes his ramen without hesitation. Miki mentions that it is her first time trying the salty flavor, and she admits that it tastes surprisingly good. Meanwhile, Kasaka internally feels as if he is completely melting down simply because Miki tastes ramen from his bowl. In the end, the two of them continue eating together while talking naturally, and before they realize it, both bowls of ramen are completely finished. After that, Miki and Kasaka leave the ramen restaurant together. The warmth from the meal still lingers as they walk outside side by side. Kasaka admits that the ramen tastes incredibly good, although the intense spiciness leaves him sweating more than he expects. Hearing that response, Miki asks him once again whether he truly enjoys it. She then casually mentions that the two of them should come back to the restaurant together again sometime in the future. Kasaka does not immediately respond after hearing those words. Instead, he quietly walks beside her while a faint redness spreads across his face. At the same time, Miki's cheeks also become red, making the atmosphere between them suddenly feel awkward yet comfortable in a natural way. Neither of them really knows what to say next for a moment. Then, without any warning, Miki suddenly pulls out her phone and quickly takes a selfie together with Kasaka. While snapping the picture, she casually calls it a couple shot, completely catching Kasaka off guard once again. The unexpected comment instantly makes him even more flustered, while Miki looks satisfied after successfully surprising him. Meanwhile, back inside the ramen restaurant, one of the employees watches them leave while talking to a co-worker. The employee comments that the hot and spicy Gyaru has once again finished the extreme ramen, as if it is completely normal for her. His co-worker responds with amazement, pointing out that Miki even eats all of the chili peppers along with the ramen without struggling at all. During gym class, the male teacher gathers all the students and tells them to begin warming up before the lesson starts. Everyone is instructed to form pairs for the exercises. While the other students quickly begin finding partners, Miki remains quiet for a moment until another female student suddenly asks to pair up with her. Miki agrees, but even while preparing for the exercises, her attention drifts elsewhere. She quietly starts thinking about Kasaka and wonders who he is going to pair up with during class. At almost the same moment, Kasaka unexpectedly approaches the teacher and directly asks to become his partner instead. The sudden request completely surprises the teacher, especially because Kasaka appears behind him so quietly that he barely notices him approaching. The teacher immediately warns Kasaka not to sneak up on people from behind like that again, before asking who exactly asks him to pair up together. From farther away, one of the female students overhears the situation and becomes confused about who is talking to the teacher. She even wonders whether the boy belongs to another class because she and several others feel like they have never seen someone like him among their classmates before. Meanwhile, the teacher starts thinking to himself that only one student would seriously approach a teacher with the mindset of becoming his exercise partner, and that student is definitely Kasaka. Once he realizes it, the teacher stares at Kasaka more carefully and notices how different his appearance looks compared to before. Curious, he asks what exactly happens to him and why he suddenly changes his style so much lately. Kasaka simply explains that he cannot find a partner and politely asks the teacher to pair up with him. The teacher immediately says that this is not what he means. For a brief moment, Kasaka looks confused before finally realizing that the teacher is actually asking about his appearance rather than the exercise partner situation. The teacher continues teasing him out of curiosity and eventually asks whether Kasaka likes someone. He even lowers his voice and jokingly tells Kasaka that he can always come to him anytime if he wants advice about girls. Kasaka calmly replies that he does not think he looks like that at all. However, before he can finish speaking, Miki suddenly calls out to him from nearby and asks whether he wants to become her partner instead. At the same time, Miki also brings along another boy named Ayachi with her. The female students nearby suddenly remember that Miki is supposedly dating Kasaka. As Miki approaches, she explains that Ayachi also does not have a partner for the exercises. Meanwhile, Ayachi awkwardly explains that Miki practically drags him there herself. Later, near the food vending machines, two female students continue talking about the situation they witnessed earlier. Both of them admit that seeing Miki and Kasaka together feels surprisingly unexpected. One of them comments that the situation is honestly much more shocking than she initially thinks. The two girls quietly wonder whether Miki is truly dating Kasaka for real, especially because Kasaka does not stand out very much in class compared to other boys. One of them even suggests that perhaps Miki is simply being kind to him rather than actually seeing him romantically. Right in the middle of their conversation, Miki suddenly appears behind them and casually asks whether the two of them are planning to buy something from the vending machines. Her sudden appearance immediately startles both girls. They quickly apologize to her before awkwardly changing the topic by praising her for doing well during gym class earlier. Miki casually responds that gym class leaves her feeling extremely hot and sweaty. The two girls laugh nervously while agreeing with her statement. However, one of them quietly starts wondering whether Miki overhears their earlier conversation, because despite appearing behind them so suddenly, Miki does not look upset, angry, or offended in any way at all. A little later, Kasaka suddenly calls out to Miki from the distance. Miki quickly notices him and turns around. Kasaka then walks over toward her and mentions that he sees she is still tying her hair up. Miki explains that she still feels hot from gym class, so she keeps her hair tied to cool herself down a little. Kasaka quietly tells her that the hairstyle actually suits her very well and makes her look cool. Hearing such a direct compliment immediately catches Miki off guard, though she still thanks him for saying it. After that, she asks what he comes over for in the first place. Meanwhile, the two female students nearby remain completely silent while watching Kasaka and Miki talk to each other. They quietly pay attention to the strange but natural atmosphere between them. Kasaka then explains that the cat both of them see earlier on the way to school is apparently now resting behind the school building. Miki immediately asks whether he means the tuxedo cat from this morning. Kasaka nods and says that the fur pattern looks exactly the same, so he is sure it is the same cat. Miki responds that it definitely sounds like the same one. After hearing the explanation, she asks whether Kasaka really comes all the way over there just to tell her something like that. Kasaka honestly admits that he does. His expression looks unexpectedly happy simply because he gets the chance to share the information with her directly. Miki then points out that he could easily tell her something like that through line instead of personally coming over. Even after hearing that, Kasaka calmly says that he simply wants to tell her himself. The two female students continue staring quietly at the interaction without knowing how to react. Meanwhile, deep inside, Miki herself actually feels surprised by how sincere Kasaka's actions are. A moment later, Kasaka suddenly realizes that Miki is originally talking with the two girls before he arrives. He awkwardly asks whether he interrupts their conversation and apologizes for suddenly barging in. The two female students hurriedly try to answer him, but before they can properly respond, Kasaka quickly excuses himself and starts leaving in a rush. The two girls can only stare in confusion after he leaves, wondering what exactly just happens in front of them. Right after that, Miki suddenly calls out to Kasaka again and tosses a canned drink toward him. Kasaka barely manages to catch it in time. Miki casually tells him that the drink is for him, but Kasaka immediately says that he cannot accept something like that. Miki explains that it is completely fine because she receives the drink for free from the vending machine anyway, so she insists that he should just take it. After hearing that explanation, Kasaka gratefully thanks her and says that he plans to treasure the drink forever. Hearing that response makes Miki immediately tell him that he should just drink it before it expires instead. The two female students continue watching the entire exchange with confused expressions, unable to fully understand the strange dynamic between the two of them. After paying for another drink at the vending machine, Miki apologizes to the girls for the sudden commotion earlier. The two students still look puzzled, and one of them quietly realizes that they probably are not supposed to stay there watching the situation for that long in the first place. As Miki walks away afterward, she thinks to herself that vending machines obviously do not randomly give out free drinks like that. Even so, she also doubts whether Kasaka will ever realize that she simply makes up an excuse to give him something. Not long later, a line notification from Kasaka suddenly appears on her phone. In the message, Kasaka apologizes once again for interrupting earlier and thanks her for giving him the drink. He also says that he definitely plans to drink all of it properly. After that, he mentions that he wants to send her a picture of the tuxedo cat they talked about earlier. A moment later, Kasaka sends the cat photo exactly as promised. While looking at the picture on her phone, Miki quietly starts thinking that Kasaka really is an incredibly kind person. One day, Miki calls Kasaka and asks whether he is free either today or tomorrow. Kasaka answers that he is available on both days. After hearing that, Miki asks whether he wants to go somewhere together with her, since they are already talking through a phone call. Miki also tells him that he should respond properly using his voice instead of staying too quiet during the conversation. Kasaka then explains that he still needs to take care of his pets and feed them, so he cannot stay outside for too long. Hearing that, Miki quickly adjusts her suggestion and says that they can simply meet around late morning and finish before evening instead. Kasaka quietly comments that the plan sounds shorter than he initially imagines. Miki then asks what kind of activity Kasaka himself wants to do. At the same time, she realizes that she actually does not fully understand what usually goes on inside his head. Because of that, she starts thinking carefully about something he might genuinely enjoy. After a brief pause, Miki suggests that they could go to a pet shop together since Kasaka has pets and clearly likes animals very much. The moment she says that, Kasaka immediately sounds happy about the idea. Miki notices the change in his reaction and comments that he really seems to love animals. Kasaka honestly admits that he truly does. After that, Miki proposes that they meet on Sunday, and she casually says that their date can start around 11 in the morning. The moment the word date comes out of her mouth, Kasaka becomes visibly shocked. His reaction is so sudden that he starts stumbling over his own words. Noticing his hesitation, Miki asks whether something is wrong. Kasaka admits that he simply cannot believe that Miki is actually inviting him on a date. Hearing that response, Miki immediately asks whether their previous ramen outing does not already count as a date. Kasaka quietly says that, in his mind, it does not really feel like one. Miki then tells him that they should just call it a date anyway. She also asks whether he dislikes the idea of going on dates together with her. Kasaka immediately denies it in a serious tone and explains that this is not what he means at all. As the conversation continues, Miki begins realizing that Kasaka genuinely looks panicked over the situation. She then explains that going on a date together is completely normal for a couple, and that it is basically the most basic step possible in a relationship. Kasaka responds by saying that if possible, they probably should take things slowly and move forward little by little first. Hearing that answer makes Miki quietly wonder whether there are somehow still more steps before something as simple as going on a date together. She even starts questioning what kind of relationship pace Kasaka actually imagines in his mind. After a short silence, Kasaka suddenly says that he is already truly happy just being together with Miki, talking with her on the phone like this, and seeing her smile. Hearing those honest words unexpectedly leaves Miki feeling conflicted. For a moment, she starts thinking that perhaps she approaches this relationship in the wrong way all this time. However, instead of calmly processing those feelings, she suddenly becomes irritated by Kasaka's strange way of thinking. Miki then firmly declares that she has heard enough about all of Kasaka's careful plans and complicated ideas. According to her, a date simply means going out together somewhere, and from what she can see, Kasaka is the only person there who keeps refusing to call it a date in the first place. Just as Kasaka is about to explain what he hopes for regarding their outing, Miki immediately cuts him off. She tells him that instead of overthinking everything himself, he should simply do what she expects from him for now, and she promises that she will clearly tell him what he should do first whenever necessary. After hearing that, Kasaka finally gives in and says that he will come properly prepared for their date. Miki then asks whether going on a date really feels like such a huge event for him. To her, it seems much simpler than the way Kasaka keeps imagining it. Miki casually explains that they are probably just going to buy food together, eat somewhere, and maybe walk around while shopping. She even jokingly adds that they could hold hands while doing it. Hearing that, Kasaka immediately asks whether she is being serious. Miki quickly laughs it off and tells him that she is only joking. She then explains that the date will actually be much more relaxed and casual than he thinks. As Kasaka tries to respond again, Miki interrupts him once more and says that while they are out together, she plans to help pick clothes and other things for him. She also points out that Kasaka does not really seem interested in fashion at all, then directly asks whether that assumption is correct. Kasaka replies that it is not exactly like that. He explains that he simply does not want Miki to go through unnecessary trouble for his sake. Hearing that answer immediately makes Mickey call him an incredibly kind guy once again. Mickey then tells him not to worry about it, because she only wants to help him out since she personally feels like doing it herself. She explains that if Kasaka truly dislikes the idea, then she obviously would not force herself to do anything for him. Kasaka quietly answers that he is not denying her offer at all. After hearing that, Miki says that the plan now sounds pretty good to her. She then enthusiastically explains that she intends to take Kasaka around to several different places during their outing. Kasaka agrees with her plan, and after talking for a while longer, the two of them finally exchange goodnight greetings before ending the call. Once the call finishes, Miki spends some time casually looking through her phone before eventually lying down on her bed. As she stares at the ceiling, she realizes that she is genuinely looking forward to Sunday much more than she expects. The thought of spending the day together with Kasaka leaves her unable to completely calm down. Sometime later, after getting up again, Miki suddenly remembers a box stored underneath her bed. She reaches down to pull it out while complaining because the box is pushed so far underneath that it becomes difficult to grab properly. Meanwhile, on Kasaka's side, he becomes so nervous about the upcoming date that he ends up not sleeping at all for 2 entire days beforehand. While waiting at the shopping center, Miki notices that there are still 10 minutes left before the meeting time. As she waits, she quietly hopes that Kasaka properly understands the exact place where they are supposed to meet. At the same time, she starts wondering what kind of clothes Kasaka decides to wear for their date, although deep down she already has a rough image in mind. A few moments later, Kasaka suddenly calls out to her from nearby. To Miki's surprise, he actually arrives earlier than the agreed time. The moment she sees the outfit he chooses to wear, she immediately bursts into laughter without being able to hold it back anymore. Miki tells him that his appearance looks exactly like what she imagines beforehand. She even wonders how those clothes somehow still manage to suit him, because to her, it genuinely feels like a mystery. Hearing her reaction makes Kasaka's face quickly turn red from embarrassment. But Miki immediately clarifies that she is definitely not complimenting him. Trying to explain himself, Kasaka mentions that the watch he is wearing is something his grandmother buys for him back when he is still in 6th grade elementary school. Hearing that, Miki says that she actually appreciates the fact that he keeps something like that for such a long time. Kasaka then demonstrates how the top cover of the watch can flip open. Seeing that feature immediately makes Miki laugh again, because she finds it unexpectedly cute and funny. Afterward, the two of them board a train together. Earlier, Miki suggests taking the train because there is a restaurant near the station that she wants to check out with him. Kasaka asks what kind of restaurant it is, and Miki explains that it is a Korean food restaurant. Kasaka then asks whether the food there is spicy, causing Miki to quickly reassure him that the restaurant also serves non-spicy dishes. Not long later, they finally arrive at the Korean restaurant together. While looking at the menu, Miki recommends that Kasaka order something marked with only 1 chili pepper level. She also apologizes because she genuinely thinks the restaurant has more non-spicy options available. Even so, Kasaka still decides that he wants to try the food anyway. Once their meals arrive, Miki immediately tastes hers first. To her, the flavor barely feels spicy at all, so she casually encourages Kasaka to try his food too. However, the moment Kasaka takes a bite, it instantly becomes obvious that the spice level feels intense for him. Seeing his reaction leaves Miki visibly confused, because the food tastes relatively mild from her perspective. Miki quickly tells him not to force himself if the food is too spicy for him to handle. Even while struggling with the heat, Kasaka explains that the food Miki enjoys earlier looks so delicious that he assumes it probably tastes good for him too. Despite saying that, he still desperately tries enduring the spiciness, while his face gradually turns red and sweat starts forming from the heat. As she watches him, Miki quietly thinks to herself that Kasaka really is an unusually kind person. Instead of making her feel excited in a flashy way, he somehow makes her feel more worried about him than anything else. At the same time, she starts imagining that perhaps someday in the future, Kasaka might become the kind of man who remains completely devoted to one person. After struggling through the meal for a while longer, Kasaka finally admits that no matter how delicious the food tastes, he still desperately needs water because of the spiciness. He quickly drinks an entire glass of water in an attempt to cool his mouth down. After calming himself slightly, he apologizes to Miki and assures her that he feels fine now. Miki then asks whether he wants more water. Without waiting for much of an answer, she gets more water for him herself, and Kasaka sincerely thanks her for doing that. However, while Kasaka is drinking, Miki suddenly points out that sharing the same glass technically counts as an indirect kiss, so she hopes he does not mind it too much. The moment she says that, Kasaka immediately chokes on his water so badly that one of the restaurant staff members quickly comes over to check whether he is alright. Watching the entire scene unfold, Miki quietly realizes that Kasaka's reaction to her comment is somehow even more dramatic than his reaction to the spicy food earlier. After finishing their meal, Miki and Kasaka continue walking around together. Along the way, Miki asks about Kasaka's condition after earlier choking on the water and struggling with the spicy food. She even offers to help him change clothes because some water spills onto him during the incident. However, Kasaka refuses and explains that it is only water, so there will not be any stains or serious problems anyway. Miki then suggests going somewhere else together, and Kasaka immediately becomes enthusiastic about following her. This time, Miki brings him to a hair product store. The destination leaves Kasaka confused at first, since he does not expect that kind of place at all. Miki explains that since Kasaka styles his hair by himself now, she assumes he probably needs proper hair products too. Kasaka admits that she is right, and he quietly agrees that hair oil might actually be useful for him. Hearing that, Miki comments that his current hairstyle genuinely looks cool on him, while his previous hairstyle reminds her of a mop cloth instead. The blunt comparison immediately shocks Kasaka. Without lingering on the topic for too long, Miki casually shifts the conversation. She points out that Kasaka is also good at cooking, and because of that, she thinks he is honestly impressive overall as a person. Even so, Kasaka quickly responds that he never personally claims anything like that about himself. Kasaka then begins explaining how he learns taking care of his hair in the first place. He says that one of his neighbors works as a hairstylist, and she happens to be a woman. Because of that connection, he asks her for help straightening his hair and teaching him how to properly maintain it. At that time, Kasaka even specifically requests a hairstyle that looks as similar as possible to Yamasaki Kento. Since then, he gradually starts practicing styling his own hair by himself every day. Miki listens carefully to the entire explanation without interrupting him. After hearing everything, she casually reaches out and gently touches Kasaka's hair. The sudden action immediately leaves Kasaka completely silent. After that, Miki starts recommending different hair oils that might suit Kasaka well. At first, she suggests one product that works well if he wants to maintain straighter hair. However, after looking at his current hairstyle more carefully, especially the softer way his hair naturally falls to one side now, she changes her recommendation and points toward another product instead. Miki then tells Kasaka that now he finally understands what kind of products he should buy for himself in the future. Meanwhile, Kasaka stares at the hair oils with genuine amazement, clearly unfamiliar with that entire world. Miki explains that she simply knows a lot about those things because she personally enjoys beauty and fashion. She then praises Kasaka by saying that he is already doing surprisingly well despite still being inexperienced. According to her, she only spends time on these things because they are hobbies she genuinely enjoys herself. She also says that she does not mind if Kasaka does not completely understand everything she means yet. After looking through several products together, Miki finally hands one particular hair oil to Kasaka because she thinks it suits him the best. Kasaka sincerely thanks her for helping him choose it. Right after that, Miki unexpectedly decides to buy the exact same hair oil for herself as well. Once they finish shopping, an awkward silence briefly forms between them. Neither of them says anything for several moments until Kasaka suddenly breaks the silence by quietly saying that he and Miki really match well together. Miki immediately asks whether he means that simply because they end up buying the same hair oil. Hearing her say that instantly makes Kasaka's cheeks turn red once again. After a while, Kasaka asks Miki where they should go next. Mickey casually suggests that this time they should visit somewhere Kasaka personally likes instead. Hearing that, Kasaka becomes slightly confused and asks what exactly she means by that. Not long afterward, the two of them arrive at a pet shop together. The moment they step inside, Kasaka immediately becomes fascinated by the large number of cats there. His eyes light up as he watches them moving around freely. He quietly comments that the cats are incredibly cute, and it becomes obvious that he is genuinely enjoying himself. Seeing his reaction, Mickey suddenly asks whether Kasaka is more of a dog person or a cat person, and tells him that he has to choose one side. However, Kasaka honestly cannot decide which one he prefers more. Since he struggles to answer, Mickey playfully starts giving him completely unrelated choices instead. She asks whether he prefers smooth red bean paste or chunky red bean paste, and Kasaka chooses the chunky one. Then she asks him whether he likes silk or cotton more, and Kasaka answers cotton. After that, she asks him to choose between Takenoko no Sato and Kanoko no Yama, and Kasaka chooses Sato without much hesitation. But when Mickey once again asks him to choose between dogs and cats, Kasaka still says that he genuinely cannot pick only one. Hearing that answer makes Mickey laugh softly before apologizing and admitting that she is only teasing him the whole time. As they continue looking around the shop, Mickey notices that several cats seem unusually comfortable around Kasaka. She points out that the cats appear to like him a lot. Kasaka then mentions that even the dogs and cats belonging to his neighbors usually become excited whenever they see him too. Hearing that makes Mickey quietly wonder about the reason behind it. Deep down, she suspects that it may simply be because Kasaka does not have any malice in him at all. However, when she casually hints at that idea, Kasaka does not really understand what she means. A moment later, Kasaka asks what Mickey herself likes more. Mickey answers that she honestly likes both dogs and cats equally, but if she absolutely has to choose one, then she prefers dogs slightly more. Just then, one of the puppies approaches them. Mickey immediately crouches down and gently pets it while calling it adorable. Watching her interact with the puppy causes Kasaka to quietly mention that he has always wanted a dog like that ever since he is little. However, he also explains that he worries about the responsibilities involved, since walking a pet and feeding it properly require a lot of effort every day. Kasaka also says that his mother has an allergy to furry animals, which means keeping cats or dogs at home is not really possible for his family. Curious about that, Mickey asks what kind of pet Kasaka actually owns. In response, Kasaka shows her a leopard gecko. He explains that it is a type of lizard known as a leopard gecko. Mickey immediately reacts with interest and says that it looks really cool. She also admits that this is her first time seeing a reptile from such a close distance. After hearing her reaction, Kasaka asks what she honestly thinks about it. Mickey explains that the lizard has a cool appearance because it is a reptile, but at the same time, its face as a baby somehow makes it look unexpectedly cute too. Hearing her say that instantly makes Kasaka visibly happy. Seeing his reaction, Kasaka has a strangely unique way of expressing happiness. Mickey then asks whether Kasaka's own leopard gecko looks similar to the one they are currently seeing. Kasaka explains that his gecko has a much more pop-out appearance compared to this one. Mickey becomes confused by the description and asks what exactly he means by pop-out. Just as Kasaka is about to explain it further, his attention suddenly gets drawn towards something else nearby. Noticing his sudden reaction, Mickey asks whether he finds something interesting. While continuing to look around the pet shop, Kasaka suddenly notices a container displayed on one of the shelves. He carefully looks at it and sees that the bottom part is sealed with tape. After checking it more closely, he realizes that the container is filled with animal feed, which immediately catches his attention because he is starting to run low on food for his own pet at home. Meanwhile, Mickey looks at the container with visible concern. She quietly starts suspecting that the insects inside might actually be cockroaches. Kasaka casually confirms that her guess is correct. The moment he says that, Mickey reacts in shock and tells him that he really does not need to say it so directly. Still feeling disturbed, Mickey asks whether Kasaka actually feeds his pet live insects like those. Kasaka calmly answers yes, and explains that he usually just places the cockroaches into his pet's enclosure. and then the lizard naturally eats them afterward. Hearing the explanation immediately makes Mickey feel genuinely horrified. Kasaka then comments that reptiles apparently behave quite differently from normal animals when it comes to eating live prey. However, from Mickey's perspective, whether it is considered normal or not makes absolutely no difference at all. The entire idea still feels terrifying to her. A moment later, Kasaka suddenly notices something strange. Mickey quickly asks what is wrong. Kasaka hesitates and quietly says that maybe it is better if she does not know. Instead of calming her down, that answer only makes Mickey even more curious about what is happening. Eventually, Kasaka reluctantly explains that one of the cockroaches manages to escape and starts flying upward. The moment Mickey hears that, she immediately screams in panic and loudly declares that she absolutely hates this situation. She even covers her ears while continuing to panic in place at that moment. Despite the chaos, Kasaka quickly reacts and manages to catch the flying cockroach before it goes any farther in the room. Once Miki realizes what happens, she watches in disbelief as Kasaka calmly places the insect back into the pet container, as if nothing unusual just occurs right in front of her. After the situation settles down, Miki quietly thanks him for handling it so quickly there. Smiling gently, Kasaka asks whether she is all right now after the scare. Miki hurriedly says that she is completely fine before immediately suggesting that they should leave the area already right away now. As they start walking again, Kasaka asks where they should go next for their date. While Miki is still thinking about their next destination, Kasaka mentions that he wants to talk about something with her personally. Before he can continue, Miki quickly tells him to wash his hands first at the tap. After cleaning his hands, Kasaka asks whether he scares Miki earlier because of the cockroach incident in that place. Miki avoids answering directly, but her face gradually starts turning red for some reason. Kasaka notices the change in her expression and points it out to her at that second. Trying to cover herself, Miki quickly claims that her face only becomes red because the weather outside feels hotter than she expects today. Kasaka accepts the explanation without suspicion and agrees that the temperature probably is slightly hotter today in the area. Miki then suggests that Kasaka should take off his jacket because of the heat, and Kasaka agrees without much thought at this moment. However, the moment he removes the jacket, Miki notices the large design printed on the back of his shirt in full view. The sight instantly causes her to burst into uncontrollable laughter once again out loud there. Completely confused, Kasaka asks what is so funny about his clothes. Still laughing, Miki tells him that he is seriously making her stomach hurt because of how funny he looks right now. After calming down slightly, Miki suddenly remembers something important and immediately suggests that they should go look for new clothes for Kasaka at the shop. Hearing that proposal, Kasaka quietly agrees to follow her down the street. At the clothing store, Miki suddenly asks Kasaka whether he knows anything about body type analysis for fashion. Kasaka immediately looks confused by the question in his mind. Miki then continues by asking whether he at least understands how clothing colors work, because according to her, clothes that suit someone properly depend on their body shape, skin tone, and overall appearance in daily life. After explaining that, Miki tells Kasaka to start trying on some clothes inside the fitting room. Kasaka obediently changes into one of the outfits she selects for him with great care. Once he comes out wearing it, Miki asks what he thinks about the shirt on his body. Kasaka briefly looks at himself in the mirror before honestly saying that he tends to spill food often, and without that concern, he is not really sure whether he personally likes the shirt or not at all. Hearing that answer immediately makes Miki tell him that this is obviously not the kind of opinion she is asking for at this time. Without wasting time, Miki tells him to try another outfit instead right away. This time, once Kasaka changes clothes and looks at himself again, even he quietly feels that the shirt fits him surprisingly well in reality now. Miki explains that the narrower neck opening suits Kasaka better, which is why the overall appearance looks much nicer on him in her eyes. After that, Miki suggests trying different pants as well, but Kasaka asks her to wait for a moment first before continuing. However, Miki completely ignores his hesitation and seriously continues searching through the clothing racks to find pants that match him perfectly well. While watching her carefully choose clothes one after another, Kasaka quietly starts wondering whether Mickey is genuinely putting this much effort into helping him with his style. During that moment, he notices Mickey smiling naturally while concentrating on picking outfits for him with pure joy. A little later, Mickey apologizes because she says choosing shirts for him is taking longer than she initially expects for today. Kasaka simply agrees while still feeling slightly confused by how serious she is about all of this for his sake. Eventually, Mickey begins selecting clothes while carefully considering the amount of money Kasaka brings with him in his wallet. However, Kasaka mentions that he already thinks the previous shirt is good enough for him now. Hearing that, Mickey casually offers to pay half of the cost herself, so that Kasaka can buy 2 shirts instead of only 1 today. The suggestion immediately shocks Kasaka in a surprise. He quickly refuses because he already brings a lot of money, and he cannot imagine letting Mickey pay half the cost for clothes meant for him personally. Mickey argues back that the total price might actually exceed the amount of money he currently has with him. The moment Kasaka checks the actual prices on the shirts, he falls completely silent in shock at the store. Seeing his reaction, Mickey admits that even she thinks it would be difficult if he has to pay the entire amount alone at this moment. She then asks whether he truly has enough money for all of it right now. Meanwhile, Kasaka quietly feels uncomfortable because the clothes are specifically being chosen for him by her. Mickey then explains that she already owns plenty of clothes herself, and she feels like Kasaka still does not fully understand the important part of all this yet. Kasaka honestly admits that he really does not understand yet in his mind. Mickey then explains her reasoning more carefully to him. She reminds him about the moment earlier when he stands in front of the mirror, and notices that he actually looks cooler than usual in his new look. According to her, seeing himself like that should naturally make him feel happy inside his heart. Kasaka quietly answers that it probably does in reality. Hearing that response, Mickey says that if Kasaka feels happy, then she also feels happy because of it around her life. However, she also admits that the shirts she chooses are honestly too expensive. For someone who normally has no interest in fashion at all, spending that much money on clothes would probably feel wasteful. Unexpectedly, Kasaka firmly disagrees. He quietly admits that recently he feels like he is beginning to develop an interest in fashion after all. For a brief moment, Mickey falls silent after hearing that confession. Then little by little, she starts smiling happily. Afterward, Mickey chooses 2 shirts for Kasaka, and even briefly starts thinking about whether she should help him choose underwear too. However, the atmosphere suddenly becomes awkwardly silent between them, before Mickey quickly pushes Kasaka toward the cashier instead. After paying for everything at the register, Kasaka apologizes for making Mickey wait for him during the shopping process. Soon afterward, he changes into one of the new outfits and asks what Mickey thinks about his appearance now. The moment Mickey sees him wearing the new clothes, she honestly feels that the outfit suits him very well. Even so, for some reason, Kasaka himself still looks extremely nervous while wearing it. Meanwhile, Mickey starts thinking about where they should go next, and casually asks whether they should continue moving already. As they walk together afterward, she notices that Kasaka remains unusually tense the entire time because of his new clothes. Later, the two of them stop by a drink shop to buy beverages together before continuing their date by visiting a plush toy store and several other places afterward. After spending time visiting different places together, Mickey quietly comments that the entire day feels incredibly fun. She even looks surprised when she realizes how late it already becomes without either of them noticing. A moment later, Mickey glances toward the watch worn by Kasaka. However, instead of responding normally, Kasaka suddenly looks strangely restless. Noticing that reaction, Mickey asks what is wrong. Kasaka simply answers that he is having such a good time that the passing hours almost feel frustrating to him. Hearing that makes Mickey smile before telling him that they can always go out together again another time. Kasaka immediately responds enthusiastically and agrees without hesitation to her plan. While Mickey continues talking about possible places they could visit next time, she suddenly loses her balance and stumbles forward on the path. Instinctively, she grabs onto Kasaka's hand while falling, causing both of them to collapse together onto the ground. Mickey manages to partially catch herself, but Kasaka ends up falling much harder onto the ground at that moment. Immediately afterward, Miki asks whether Kasaka is alright after the fall. Kasaka quickly gets back up, and, instead of worrying about himself, immediately asks about Miki's condition and whether she gets hurt anywhere on her body. Miki remains silent for a moment, causing Kasaka to ask again whether she scrapes herself during the fall very badly there. Then, in a panic, Kasaka hurriedly opens his bag to find something. Watching him do that makes Miki realize that the bag is probably filled with supplies his grandmother tells him to carry around every single day. Before Kasaka can become even more frantic, Miki stops him and says that she should be the one feeling shocked right now, especially because even her shoe comes loose from the fall just now today. However, Kasaka insists that they need to treat her injury immediately, without any delay. Without wasting time, Kasaka starts taking care of Miki's injured foot himself with great care. Watching how intensely serious he becomes over such a small injury makes Miki comment that he is being surprisingly aggressive about it at this time. Hearing that causes Kasaka to quickly apologize for his behavior. After finishing the treatment, Kasaka hesitantly asks whether he should carry Miki instead on his back. He explains that if she truly needs help walking, then he feels like he should at least ask her about it. Miki quietly thinks that continuing to walk probably will hurt too much. So in the end, she accepts Kasaka's suggestion without any objection. Soon afterward, Kasaka carefully carries her while walking toward a quieter area nearby down the street. Along the way, Miki explains that although the bus takes a while to arrive, the route stops very close to her neighborhood where she lives. She then suggests that Kasaka should simply go home by train afterward by himself then. Miki also apologizes because she feels like she causes him unnecessary trouble because of the accident that happens earlier. However, Kasaka firmly says that he intends to escort her home properly first before he leaves. Throughout the walk, Kasaka repeatedly asks whether Miki's foot still hurts at this moment. Miki eventually answers that thanks to Kasaka treating it earlier, the pain already becomes a little better now than before. Even so, she still apologizes because she feels like the two of them waste a lot of time today because of her injury along the way. Kasaka looks genuinely confused after hearing that statement from her. Instead, he calmly says that he has an amazing time today regardless of everything that happened between them both. Hearing those words makes Miki quietly agree that the two of them really do have a lot of fun together throughout the entire day from the start. Eventually, they board the bus together at the station. While sitting inside, Miki tells Kasaka that she already feels much better now, so he does not need to escort her all the way home anymore for this evening. She also mentions that she checks her injury again, and believes he can safely return home by taking this same bus toward Tokuyama right away now. Before long, she sincerely thanks him once more for everything he does for her today with a smile. When the bus finally reaches her stop, Miki says goodbye before getting off the vehicle safely. Meanwhile, Kasaka watches her leave with a gentle smile on his face at that second. As the warning sound announces that the bus doors are about to close, Kasaka suddenly looks at his own reflection and lightly pinches his cheek, almost as if he is trying to confirm that the entire day really happens in real life. Meanwhile, Miki eventually arrives back at her house late that day. Once she reaches her room and finally has time to think quietly by herself, she starts feeling that maybe she somehow ruins parts of the date without realizing it in her mind. The story continues the next day at school. Miki points out that the shop they visited during the meeting is starting its summer sale and suggests going there again. Kasaka looks surprised and asks if it is already a summer sale. Miki explains that clothing stores work that way even though it is still spring. Miki keeps walking beside him while talking about the shop they want to visit. Kasaka follows along. Ayachi is already waiting inside the classroom. Miki notices him and reacts with a quick sound. Kasaka wonders what is about to start now. Miki thinks about how to put it into words and explains that an annoyance is about to begin. Ayachi suddenly calls out to Uchiha and asks what she was doing with Kasaka yesterday. Ayachi raises a hand and asks for a minute. He makes it clear that it is better not to tell anyone about what happened. He quietly admits that her heart is not ready yet. Miki suddenly blurts out that he was on a date. The unexpected confession makes everyone react, while Kasaka reaches toward her in surprise. Miki asks why the girl knows this, and reminds her that she already told her to wait. The girl explains that they were there yesterday too. She admits that she wanted to follow them, but Ayachi kept telling her to stop. Miki tells her not to follow them anyway. Miki asks where they saw them. The girl answers that they were at the variety store. The girl reacts with an oops as she realizes Miki is not amused. Miki asks what she is laughing at, and Ayachi calls her, while telling her to pay attention. Ayachi suddenly questions whether Miki is really serious. Miki makes it clear that she is at least not joking about it. Ayachi demands a clearer answer, and asks if Miki really likes Kasaka. Miki listens while Kasaka stands nearby. He quietly reacts and asks what about him. The girl watching the exchange calls it a bloody fight scene and tells her not to mock her. Kasaka stays caught in the middle of the argument. Miki begins by making her point clear. If Ayachi thinks she is going out with Kasaka just for fun or something like that, then that would be deplorable. Ayachi tells Miki that he does not mind if she picks the right guy for herself. Miki starts to respond, but struggles to get the words out. Ayachi suddenly objects to Kasaka being that guy and insists that there is no way. He cannot explain it properly and only manages to say that it is for some reason. Miki immediately asks what he means by some reason. Ayachi insists that Kasaka is not the right man for Miki anyway. He makes it clear that he does not approve of him. Two classmates watch the argument and laugh at the situation. Kasaka wonders if this is his fault. She quickly clears things up and insists that Ayachi is not Miki's boyfriend or anything like that. She adds that saying something like that would be weird. The girl explains that Ayachi only wants to know who Miki is with. Kasaka asks why Ayachi is so angry with him. Ayachi tells him not to ask why and insists that Kasaka listen to his story until the very end. Ayachi smiles as he starts telling Kasaka about the past. Ayachi explains that when he was in primary school they had a joint athletics competition. Ajiho was the high jump champion of another school. Miki continues by saying that this was how it all started. A girl nearby admits that she has heard that story 100 times already. Ayachi suddenly stops the story and tells everyone to wait a minute. He does not want the story about that time to be discussed too much. He explains that he only saw it from afar somehow. He then tells everyone to listen to other people. The school grounds are quiet as Ayachi watches the high jump practice from a distance. He focuses on Miki as she prepares for her jump. A running shoe steps onto the track as Miki starts her approach. Her movement is quick and controlled as she builds up speed toward the bar. Miki launches into the high jump and clears the bar with a smooth motion. The way Miki jumps seems almost like slow motion to Ayachi. He keeps watching her without looking away. Before he realizes it, Ayachi cannot stop watching Miki. Her skill has completely caught his attention. The two girls points out that mobile phones are not allowed at school. One of them talk about how their favorite person is appearing live today. The other insists that it cannot be helped because the broadcast is too important to miss. The girl watching the screen suddenly reacts in disbelief. She cannot believe what she is seeing and quickly tells herself to wait. The high jump performance has caught her attention completely. She looks at Miki with admiration and calls the performance amazing. She feels that Miki is so good that watching her could fill an entire lifetime. The girl beside her is convinced that Miki will definitely win the recommendation. Ayachi is certain that the devotion has lasted for 7 years. He declares that he has been devoted to Miki since then. The girl nearby laughs and calls him a total idiot. Miki jokes that there is an idiot among them. Kasaka looks at Ayachi with confusion. Miki asks whether the same feeling is felt for celebrities and anime characters. Ayachi agrees that it could be called the same kind of feeling. Ayachi reminds Kasaka that he already told him about the chance to get a recommendation from his new friend at school. He makes it clear that this has been part of his story from the beginning. Miki compares the situation to a gacha game, where life has given her the role of an SSR supporter and classmate. She tells Kasaka not to turn her into a social networking game character without permission. Kasaka asks if they have known each other since before high school. Miki confirms that they have known each other since before high school. Sasaki Soyo introduces herself. Soyo explains that they have known each other since kindergarten. She also reveals that Ayachi Ryo has been with them since primary school. Soyo finds it very polite and nice to meet someone who has known him for so long. Ayachi insists that Kasaka has not liked Miki for as long as he has. Soyo reacts to his desperate attitude, while Miki brings up the fact that Ayachi came after him. Ayachi points out that he has still been here longer than that guy. Soyo told that there is really no need to worry about him. Kasaka admits that he really did not know anything about it. Kasaka wonders whether affection for someone can really be measured by the amount of time spent with them. The question makes him think about what affection actually means. Ayachi watches the conversation from nearby without saying anything. Kasaka rejects the idea that affection is simply about being appropriate. He questions how serious Ayachi really is about all of this. Kasaka brings up love and wonders what it is really all about. Miki and the girl beside her react to the sudden change in topic as the conversation turns into a philosophy lesson. Miki wonders what they were really talking about in the first place. Miki looks toward Ayachi and asks if there is anything he wants to say. Ayachi admits that maybe he overreacted this time. He seems willing to take back some of his anger. Miki asks for his sincere apology. Ayachi responds with a simple apology. Kasaka beside Soyo asks to see it. She looks at the situation and decides that the apology is the bottom line. Kasaka is praised for his victory as Soyo celebrates beside him. He raises his hand with a happy smile while she shares his excitement. Miki comments that today has been noisy since early morning. The horoscope says Sagittarius has the lowest luck in the ranking today. Whatever Sagittarius tries may not succeed. That is too bad. Kasaka learns that he is a Sagittarius. He looks at the horoscope and gets ready to face the day. He tells himself to fight on despite the bad luck. A phone suddenly starts beeping. The unexpected sound catches Kasaka's attention. Miki sends a message suggesting that Kasaka meet in front of the park as usual. The short message is simple and familiar with no unnecessary words. Miki greets Kasaka-kun and explains that this is a fundamental committee matter. It says that the committee members have been called in early to school because the environmental committee members are being asked to leave school early. The message leaves Kasaka with a serious matter to consider. He looks at the message with surprise. He sits at his desk and finishes his meal. After eating, he quietly expresses gratitude for the meal. The school building stands quietly in the morning as the students begin their day. The girl cries that it really is ruined while the second years are called to gather there. The announcement reaches everyone as the group notices the mess that has been left behind. The girl admits that joining the committee seemed easy because it was expected to be simple. Another student notices that this looks like the first time such a thing has happened. A student asks where to take the flowers. A reminder comes that handling those roots is difficult. Another student protests that it would be better to leave them alone. Kasaka asks if he can try. The two students turn toward Kasaka with surprise as one of them reacts with surprise. They feel relieved by the offer and admit that Kasaka is saving them because they cannot do any of this themselves. Miki quietly wonders if there has always been a boy like that. She points out that the atmosphere around him has changed. Kasaka moves along the flower bed and begins working on the task himself. During the first period science lab, Miki watches as Kasaka struggles with the equipment after something goes wrong. The other student apologizes for the trouble, while the machine continues causing chaos around him. During the second period home economics, Kasaka works with the sewing machine when it suddenly breaks and refuses to shut down. The machine keeps running as the students panic around him. One girl quickly calls for sensei and reports that Kasaka's sewing machine has broken and that it is not shutting down. Kasaka suddenly faces danger as someone urgently warns him to watch out. Miki watches the situation with Ayachi nearby, and Kasaka admits that there was a cat there just now, and that attention was only lost for a second. Ayachi explains that the cat did not even care about almost being hit. Miki's relief is clear as she adds that she is happy it did not happen. Kasaka and Miki stop by the store during the third period PE break. They continue through the store while Kasaka remains close beside her. The sight of him makes her point out that he has been getting into dangerous situations all day. He reacts with an awkward expression as the repeated trouble begins to feel almost unbelievable. Today, Kasaka feels that his sign is the lowest in terms of luck. The morning predictions on the show are usually spot on. Soyo notices his condition and asks if he is alright. Ayachi insists that it is useless to believe in fortune-telling and explains that there is a chance not everybody will be affected by the same results of a prediction. Miki admits that Kasaka really has been unlucky today. Soyo continues with her lucky item for the day, which is a cheesecake. She bought one and brought it to school because it was supposed to bring good luck. She points out that the cheesecake is high in calories. Ayachi still encourages him to eat it, because that is exactly what she wanted. Miki encourages Kasaka to try it too, and suggests eating wheat or something as another lucky food. She looks at him with a gentle smile as she offers the idea. Miki asks whether they did not say anything about that. She recalls that the show gave more advice to the person ranked 12th than to the person ranked 11th. Kasaka feels that no matter what he tries today, it will still be an unlucky day. His expression shows how deeply the fortune-telling has affected him. Miki wonders just how much the fortune-telling has gotten to him. Soyo struggled with the cheesecake, while the hopeless fortune-telling continued to bother her. The fortune-telling had declared that a non-creamy cheesecake was no real cheesecake. Ayachi watched her reaction and wondered if the dessert really doesn't taste that good. He remembered that sweets should not be eaten before lunch, and Soyo thought a petit gâteau might have been a better choice. Ayachi wondered what had happened to the lucky item talk. Miki remembered that Mom would be coming home late again today. While the meal continued, Soyo wondered when the fried eggs would finally be made properly. Ayachi found the hijiki style of bento interesting. Miki continued to watch the conversation with quiet interest. Miki looked at the bento in front of her and wondered what kind of meal had been brought for her. Kasaka reacted with surprise as she noticed what he had received. Miki noticed the unusual design and thought that Kasaka had accidentally brought his mom's lunch. She then wondered if Kasaka had good parents who prepared such a thoughtful meal for him. Kasaka was called by an announcement identifying him as a second-year member of the Environmental Committee Group 3. The announcement instructed Kasaka to go to the back of the school building. The sudden request made him wonder if it was about what had happened that morning. He figured that the earlier matter had probably been wrecked. Since Kasaka might not be able to return anytime, soon he told Miki that she could eat without him. The classroom is quiet as the students settle into their seats. Kasaka stands near the front, while Miki remains seated nearby. Miki asks whether Kasaka has also been asked to help after school. He explains that taking care of plants is something familiar to him. Because of that experience, he feels suitable for the task. Miki notices him and checks whether everything is all right. She asks whether lunch has been eaten. He explains that only a 10-minute break was taken to eat. Miki asks him to extend her hands. He follows his request and holds them out toward her. She prepares to give him something while he watches her closely and waits to see what he has brought. She places a candy into his hands. She explains that she hopes it will help at least a little. Miki reminds Kasaka not to get caught with the candy. She quietly warns him to keep them hidden and eat them only when nobody is around. Kasaka looks at the candy in surprise. He holds the snacks close and expects him to eat them. He feels that the snacks would be wasted on him and insists that he will not eat them. His reluctance makes his refusal clear. Miki calmly tells him to eat them. She already knew that Kasaka would react this way and had expected him to refuse. The afternoon is coming to an end, and the students are heading home. Kasaka tells Miki that this is the way he is going, and casually lets her know that they will see each other tomorrow. Miki listens while they walk together. Miki suddenly notices him and asks what she is going to do now. He answers that it is nothing unusual. Kasaka answers that it is nothing unusual. He explains that she is going to replant the flowers that were safe and spray some fertilizer on them. Miki asks whether Kasaka thinks she could do that too. Kasaka reacts with a surprised. He is caught off guard by Miki's question and looks toward her in surprise. Miki offers to help Kasaka with the work. Miki admits that she does not know whether these feminine hands will be able to do the job. Miki adds that she is not used to this kind of stuff. She asks Kasaka to tell her what to do so she can help properly. Kasaka reacts with a startled as he looks at Miki. Her willingness to help leaves him struggling to respond. Miki reminds Kasaka that no lucky item can save an unlucky day. He tells her that it would be a much help. Before she continues that spending a day like this with the person he loves and doing something he likes is sure to be a great day. Kasaka reacts with great happiness. He declares that today he is having a wonderful day and confidently agrees with Miki by saying certainly. Miki looks at the flowers and remarks that they are not looking too good. She explains that these are the flowers they could save. Kasaka asks her to replant them after watering them and waiting a little. He reminds her that there is no need to bury them too deep. She understands the instruction and responds with an okay. Miki tells Kasaka that she can see it on his face. He loves this kind of thing. Kasaka happily admits that he does. He adds that he also does this kind of stuff at home. Miki finds it amazing that Kasaka can take care of both animals and plants. He explains that taking care of living things is complicated, but it is also fun. Miki asks what is wrong and wonders what he is thinking about. Kasaka asking what is more important about the question she asked just now. Kasaka wonders whether the important thing is caring for the plants or whether it is actually about Miki. He makes it clear that either way his answer does not change. Whether Kasaka is asking about caring for the plants or about Miki herself, the answer remains the same. Miki then calls out to him before urging them to finish taking care of these plants. Soyo calls out to Miki twice as Miki prepares to leave the classroom. She then asks whether Miki would like to go shopping on the way home. Soyo mentions that she also found a game she is interested in. She suggests checking the new edition at the bookstore. Miki asks what Soyo is talking about because she does not understand what she means. She reminds Soyo that the exam period is already next week. The reminder suddenly makes Soyo realize how close the exams are. Soyo lets out a sigh as she admits that she hates exam week. Miki admits that she understands the feeling and tells her that she gets it. Ayachi reminds Soyo that when they were first years he really thought she would not pass. He suggests that they do group studying. Miki turns to Kasaka and asks whether he will join them too. Kasaka hesitates and wonders if it is really okay because he is also not very confident with his studies. Soyo reassures everyone that it is fine. She encourages him to join the group without worrying about his studies. Ayachi points out that even someone who is the type to be completely taught by others can still learn through group studying. He suggests studying at Miki's place as always. Miki explains that it might be a little difficult because her mother is coming back early this week. Soyo hesitates, but admits that studying this way is more fun. Miki gives a brief no in response to the idea. Miki admits that she just does not like that idea. Soyo tells her that he cannot say he does not understand how she feels. Miki suggests that going to Kasaka's place would be easier since it is nearby. He asks what the others think. Kasaka explains that if it were up to him, then everyone would be welcome, but he cannot decide on his own. Kasaka decides that he will ask her parents when she gets home. Miki receives a simple okay in response. Kasaka with glasses is told that there are friends who need help preparing for the upcoming tests next week. He reacts with a confused eh as the reminder catches him off guard. His mother struggles with the thought of friends and quietly repeats the word while covering her mouth. Her expression shows that the subject has left her deeply embarrassed and overwhelmed. Kasaka explains that they ended up asking him a bunch of things about his friends. He mentions that they wanted to hear all about the ones who were coming to have fun. He then apologizes and admits that tomorrow looks like it is going to be a bit difficult. His mother reacts with an uncertain eh and asks whether that is because of what happened. Then they arrive at Miki's home. Miki happily welcomes everyone inside and Soyo apologizes for bothering them, while Kasaka and Ayachi follow behind her. Miki's mother greets the group with lively energy and welcomes them inside. Her cheerful presence fills the entrance with warmth as everyone arrives for the study session. Ayachi apologizes for bothering them for a little while and asks them to spend some time studying for the exams. Miki's mother welcomes everyone warmly and explains that she has heard about their visit. She explains that Miki only tells everything after Miki are already there, and Ayachi adds that drinks and sweets were bought for everyone, so there is no need to bother her. She appreciates the thought and responds with a thankful how thoughtful, and thanks him very much while Miki is reminded that this is all her fault by the way. She also reveals that donuts were brought after being bought earlier. So many donuts have been brought that it feels as if everyone is having a party. The generous treat earns a warm thank you, and Soyo happily responds with a cheerful sound. Kasaka apologizes for the intrusion, while Mickey's mother warmly welcomes him as well, and tells him that he is welcome at the house. She cheerfully tells everyone to just call her if anything is needed, while she raises a hand in a friendly gesture. Her warm welcome makes the house feel even more inviting as the group settles in. Ayachi marks that Mickey's mother is always like that and welcomes the visitors with the same kindness. Mickey then explains that she invited them without telling her mother, and heard that they had to study this much. Ayachi decides that it is time to start, and tells everyone to get their maths books ready. His serious attitude makes it clear that the studying is about to begin. Soyo asks what kind of donut Ajiha likes, while Ayachi notices she looking like someone who wants to take a break from studying. Ayachi points out that his expression is the face of someone who wants to take a break from studying, and asks whether he already wants to eat. Kasaka reacts with surprise to modern Japanese, and Ayachi admits that he knows how it feels, while Mickey wondering whether it is bad not to understand it. Soyo confidently takes charge of the language subject, and declares that it should be left to her because she is good at languages, while Ayachi reminds her to focus and asks what she is going to do now because it is time to work on factorization with him. He wants to think about the feelings of Mr. Lizzie together with Kasaka, while Mickey urges everyone to come on and start already. Mickey keeps working until she gets a headache and complains that it hurts, while Soyo points out that she is already doing it again. Mickey reminds Kasaka that if there is something he does not understand, he should just ask. Kasaka accepts the advice with a simple okay. Mickey looks over her work and wonders whether this should be substituted by that. Ayachi confirms that it is right, but explains that the next one is done by this method. He asks whether he should not solve the problem, yet while Kasaka looks up and questions why she is looking up. Soyo asks whether this one is finished, and Ayashi confirms that it is. He laughs when he notices that she is trying to go around the problem instead of solving it properly. Mickey reacts with surprise that it is already done. Kasako admits that he really likes Mr. Liji, while the difficult problem leaves him struggling to understand the friendship between Mr. Liji and Mr. N in the text. The explanation makes it clear that the problem depends on the interpretation of the passage, and that the relationship is difficult to understand. Mickey returns after going to the toilet, and realizes that everyone has already moved over there. Soyo looked exhausted and could barely keep going, and admitted that he was already tired, because all she wanted was the donuts, as Ayachi pointed out that he still had not used his head enough for the task. Soyo notices that Kasaka also wants to eat one, and points out that Kasaka seems ready to give in. She urges Kasaka to choose a donut, and asks which donut he wants to eat. Kasaka finally admits that the traditional flavor is the one he wants. His hesitant reaction shows that the choice has already been made, even though he was trying to resist the donuts. Soyo reacts to the donut choice by thinking about the large amount of dough and the calories that come with it. She then calls him a greedy boy for wanting such a filling treat. Ayashi suddenly notices that Soyo's personality has changed and points it out with surprise. Mickey asks everyone to wait a second. Soyo decides to take the Chuo flavor, while the Ayachi warns him not to decide by himself. Mickey continues, as the others notice that the food looks like it will be finished as always on the first day. Mickey offers Kasaka some black tea, and asks whether he would like some. He accepts the offer with an appreciative response, and thanks Soyo for the tea. The house has already become dark outside, as Mickey notices the late hour, and reacts to how dark it has become. The group realizes that they should get going soon. Ayachi looks toward the others, and wonders if it is really okay for everyone to go home already. The others are preparing to leave while the cleanup is still unfinished. Mickey reassures them that there is no problem, and tells them to leave the cleanup to him. The group continues on their way home, as Ayachi insists that from tomorrow onwards, everyone will get serious about studying. Soyo reacts with an embarrassed before she reminds him that she is saying it for his own good. Soyo teases Ayachi by comparing his words to the lines used by overprotective boyfriends. The teasing leaves him irritated as he mutters that she is being a little too much. Mickey wonders whether there is any train running at this hour, and asks if that route works for Kasaka. He reacts with a confused as the group continues walking through the dark street together. Kasaka suddenly realizes that his smartphone seems to have been forgotten. He reacts with an ah before starting to explain what happened. Soyo responds with relief and remarks that thankfully he realized it quickly. Kasaka thanks everyone for today and decides to go back to get the smartphone that was forgotten. Soyo calls out to Kasaka as he prepares to leave, while the others remain nearby. Soyo cheerfully tells him that they will see each other tomorrow. The farewell carries the same friendly warmth as the evening comes to an end. Kasaka walks back through the quiet night after leaving the others behind. His thoughts remain with the group as he continues along the street. He looks back with a smile and answers yes before repeating the promise to see everyone tomorrow. Soyo notices that Ayachi has realized Kasaka forgot something. He tells her that this kind of thing is not going to work, while Soyo questions what she means. Soyo looks at Ayachi and asks whether he is really not going to stop mistreating Kasaka so badly. Ayachi repeats the word mistreating with a doubtful reaction. Ayachi explains that it is not like he hates Kasaka. He admits that what bothers him is when Kasaka acts like Miki's boyfriend, and that is the part he simply does not like. Soyo smiles softly as she looks toward Ayachi and admits that she thinks they match well. Soyo acknowledges that he understands him. She then explains that Miki is a good friend of theirs, which makes her feelings easier to understand. Kasaka continues walking toward Miki home as the evening settles around him. Soyo agree that they will root for them in the short exchange. Miki pauses with a small sound as she looks ahead. The forgotten item is finally handed back to her with a gentle reminder that this is what was left behind. Kasaka receives it with sincere gratitude and wonders if that was really all that had been forgotten. Miki checks whether he had fun today. Kasaka answers with a cheerful yes, and the simple response leaves the farewell feeling warm. Miki looks at the returned item and confirms that she got it. A small smile follows as she adds that everything is good. As they prepare to part for the evening, Miki gives a final goodbye, while Kasaka answers with a quiet sound as their short goodbye comes to an end. Kasaka gives a warm smile and lifts his hand as he prepares to leave. He promises to see Miki tomorrow and keeps the farewell simple and sincere. Miki stands quietly near the doorway and listens to his goodbye. Her expression remains gentle as she prepares to part with him for the night. Kasaka remains at the doorway with his backpack as Miki raises her hand in farewell. The two share one last friendly goodbye before separating for the night. Miki stares at her test paper and lets out a frustrated cry as she realizes the result is not what she had hoped for. She looks over the questions again and remembers that they were even written in the same way Ayachi had taught them. Ayachi looks toward Miki as she sits with her test paper in hand. He points out that the result is not completely bad because at least half of the questions were answered correctly. Miki remains frustrated with the result and admits that it is so frustrating. Miki looks pleased as she holds up her test result and proudly points out that she ranked higher than last time. The score shows 94 out of 100, which leaves her satisfied with the improvement. Kasaka looks at Miki with surprise when she proudly reveals that she placed first in English in their class. Miki turns toward Kasaka and asks how he did on the test. He pauses before answering as the question catches him off guard. The test results show that even though the class covered reading comprehension, it looks like it wasn't enough. Ayachi points out that Miki taught him, and he still got those terrible marks. The result leaves Kasaka looking discouraged as the disappointing score is brought up again. He admits that she's right. Miki immediately tells him to cut it out as the teasing about his terrible marks continues. Ayachi reveals that the result is 12th place. He remembers that last time it was 9th. The double digits are a bit disappointing to him, even though the difference is small. Ayachi looks towards Soyo and asks how she did on the exams. The question draws Soyo's attention as the others wait to hear about her result. A hand suddenly grabs another hand and pulls it forward with unexpected force. The sudden movement leaves the other person startled, and a clear loud cry escapes as the grip tightens. Soyo holds onto Ayachi's hand with excitement and declares that she wants a super parfait. Her sudden determination leaves Ayachi confused as he struggles to understand her sudden demand. The group is suddenly drawn into the decision as Soyo eagerly announces that it is time to go to the family restaurant. Ayachi follows behind her while Kasaka and Miki are pulled along with them. One of them struggles to keep up and protests as they are dragged forward. A staff member presents the order with a tall parfait filled with many seasonal fruits. The special dessert is introduced as the spring pudding parfait with many seasonal fruits prepared for their dear customer. The waiter brings the order to the table, while Kasaka looks at the food with concern. The large dessert is placed in front of the group, and everyone prepares to enjoy it. Ayachi looks at the test result and struggles to understand how it is even possible. He points at the dessert while trying to figure out which part to start with. He looks at her maths test and discovers that she only scored 9 points. The terrible result leaves her shocked as she stares at the paper. Ayachi looks at Soyo's terrible test result and gets angry. He cannot believe that she is eating the parfait without a care in the world after getting such a disastrous score. Ayachi remains focused on her test score and questions how she could order such a luxury after getting a score like that. Soyo tries to defend herself by pointing out that the parfait is melting. She argues that the right to eat parfaits should also be given to those with disastrous results. Soyo admits that the result is embarrassing. She does not want her marks to be exposed to the whole school. Miki explains that she wants some help coming up with a strategy for supplementary classes. Ayachi reminds her that if it were up to him, she would spend the rest of her life taking those classes. Soyo worries that if she does not get good points in the next makeup exam, she will not be able to go on dates with Yuzu. Ayachi points out that Yuzu also failed the exams and suggests asking her boyfriend to teach her. He reacts angrily and calls them a couple of idiots. Soyo tells Ayachi that Yuzu is also coming. Ayachi reminds her that nothing was ever said about helping her. She explains that she already has plans for today. Ayachi calls her a smartass and Miki admits that it is the first time someone has called her that. Miki remembers that she also has things to do, and Kasaka agrees that it is time to go. Miki apologizes and asks if Kasaka wanted to stay. Kasaka explains that it would be weird for Miki to stay there without him. She listens to his reason and considers what he means. Kasaka wonders if that would really be weird and hopes Miki does not mind. Before meeting Miki, Kasaka had been walking beside her as they continued on their way. Kasaka explains that he has only been friends with animals and plants. They were all he had at the time. Miki wonders what brought all of this up all of a sudden, and feels that it sounds like some kind of fairy tale. Miki wonders how she should put this, and asks whether Kasaka does not dislike being with them. Kasaka wonders if he does not, and admits that he does not. Miki points out that he and Ayachi are surprisingly similar. Miki explains that it is not like Kasaka has to be with his friends all the time. He adds that Miki will fight when she has to. Miki tells Kasaka that he does not need to make a big deal out of it, though. Kasaka explains that there is no secret formula to these things. Miki reminds Kasaka that there is no need to make a big deal out of it, though. The two of them will think about it when the time comes. Kasaka notices the red light and realizes that they need to stop. He reacts with a quiet hesitation as he looks ahead and waits for the signal. Miki suddenly reaches out in surprise as the situation catches her off guard. A loud cry escapes while she reacts to what is happening. The traffic light changes, and the crossing signal appears. Miki checks on Kasaka and asks if he is all right. Kasaka lies still as Miki looks closely at him. His expression leaves her uncertain about what has happened. Miki looks at Kasaka and asks what is happening. She struggles to understand the situation as she wonders what has happened to him. Kasaka reaches up and takes Miki's hand as he looks at her and asks her why she is so kind. Miki stands beside him and holds his hand as he remains on the ground. Miki asks what Kasaka means by calling her kind. Miki asks if that is how Kasaka sees it. Her words leave him caught off guard as she looks at him closely. Miki reacts with surprise as Kasaka moves closer to her. Miki notices that Kasaka has opened his eyes and reacts with surprise. She looks at him closely as the sudden change catches her attention. Miki laughs and enjoys the situation. She declares that this is the best and that Kasaka's reactions are priceless. Next day, Miki notices Kasaka hiding his face behind a book and calls his name. Soyo looks toward him with curiosity, while Kasaka keeps his face covered and avoids their attention. Soyan wonders why Kasaka is hiding. Miki explains that even if he covers his face, the rest of his body is still visible. She adds that he has been like that the whole day and admits that she provoked him too much yesterday. Miki remembers that today's homeroom is for all classes. Soyo agrees with her and quickly decides to come along. The sports festival this year is divided into two groups for the red team. The students from second-year class, one will take the role of the cheering team, and they are determined not to lose to the other teams. The group also aims for first place in every event and wants to enjoy the festival while giving their best effort. The pressure of the sports festival becomes too much for Kasaka, and the weight of expectations leaves him struggling under the pressure. When summer vacation begins, the third-year students will enter exam mode. That makes everyone excited because it means the sports festival is getting closer, and it is finally time for the event. Kasaka admits that he is not good at sports, and the situation feels different from last year. Then, Miki is called repeatedly as the group gathers around her. Sakazaki introduces herself as the cheering team leader and asks Miki if they used to be in the same class. She feels genuinely happy to be part of Miki's team and welcomes the chance to work together. Suzaki is delighted that Miki still remembers her, and Miki confirms that she remembers her. The reunion makes Suzaki happy as the two share their excitement over meeting again. Suzaki also feels that having Miki as a teammate will make the group even more enjoyable. She is warmly encouraged to join the cheerleading group because her dance performance from last year was incredible. Miki becomes flustered by the attention and struggles to respond to the sudden praise. Her reaction makes Kasaka wonder what is wrong with Miki, while Ayachi reassures him that there is no need to worry. Suzaki notices that Miki is only surprised by the sudden attention and explains that the small reaction is nothing serious. Miki is then teased for having such a small face and a beautiful nose. Miki recalls that this happened around the end of junior high school. She remembers how special entering high school felt and how crazy everything seemed. The memory makes her wonder what Suzaki eats to have such a reaction, while the others encourage Miki to give the dance her all. Ayachi notices that someone is very interested in the sports festival and wonders why the attention is so strong. The conversation turns to the afternoon cheerleading battle, and Miki explains that she likes the movements from the music videos. She admits that she simply copies those movements, while Kasaka asks how she knows how to dance. Ayachi is remembered as one of last year's highlights after her dance performance at the sports festival. Her skill had left a strong impression, and the memory still makes the others curious about her dancing. Even if someone asks to see the dance from the sports festival, Miki refuses, because showing it feels embarrassing. The others are then called over as the conversation continues. The preparations for the sports festival move forward with another instruction. Everyone is told to put on gym clothes and gather at the gym immediately, because various things need to be measured so everything can go well. The pressure of the preparations begins to weigh on Kasaka. Her speed makes her stand out as she runs with confidence and finishes the race in only 6 seconds and a few milliseconds. Miki is noticed as one of the fastest students in the class, and the others remember that all the other competitions have already been taken by Ayaka. Ayachi also noticed that there are many events at the school, and the conversation turns to the bread eating competition. Kasaka realized that they ended up missing a Jiha's 50m run. The excitement grows as everyone reacts to the busy sports festival schedule. Miki is called over while the others question why she cannot enter the 50m run. The priority of the event becomes a concern, as they wonder whether Miki should really be taking part in it. Kasaka studies the handwritten list of events with growing disbelief, as the long list fills the page. The number of activities is far beyond what he expected, and the overwhelming sight leaves him reacting with a startled sound. Kasaka turns toward Miki and asks whether she is really entering this many events. His concern grows as he looks at how many activities she has taken on. Kasaka explains that she is only participating in the bread eating competition. The situation reminds Miki that things were already like this last year. Miki admits that she wanted to reduce the number of activities a little. Her motor skills are good though, so she feels capable of handling them despite the growing schedule. She explains that there is another reason for taking part. Miki wants to help create good memories for everyone during their third year, so she is willing to take on more than usual. Kasaka notices another possibility and asks whether there is also the cheerleading team. Miki gives a small confirmation with a repeated yes. Kasaka looks at her with concern and asks whether she is going to do that too. He points out that the cheerleading team practices after school and questions how Miki can fit another commitment into such a busy schedule. Miki realized that she had screwed up and could only let out a quiet sound as the thought sank in. Miki understood that they would not be able to walk home together. She still felt that they could talk on the phone. The thought brought a small hesitation as the situation remained on her mind. Kasaka looked at Miki with concern while reminding her that she should not force herself too much. The warning carried a gentle concern for how much she had been pushing herself. Miki quietly recognized that side of Kasaka as kind as always. Her thoughts lingered on the familiar kindness that had once again reached her at an unexpected moment. Kasaka noticed the reaction and looked toward Miki with a puzzled expression as he wondered about that side of himself. Miki quickly brushed the matter aside and treated it as nothing. Miki found Kasaka's honest side difficult to understand. His straightforward kindness left her unsure how to react, because such sincerity was something she had never known how to handle before. Miki wondered whether she could do her best without working too hard. Kasaka encouraged her to please do so, while promising that he would also do his best in the bread-eating competition. His determined gesture made it clear that he intended to give the event everything he had. Next day, Kasaka had sent a message asking whether Miki was going to practice for tomorrow's sports festival. He reminded her to take care of her body and asked her to please pay attention to her condition. Miki apologized because she had fallen asleep as soon as she got home. She had only just woken up and replied that she had fallen asleep until 4:45. Miki answered again with a tired sound before asking about tomorrow. She wanted to know if Kasaka was also going to practice tomorrow and then decided that she would go first. Kasaka remained in bed while checking the phone. The messages had clearly caught his attention, and he looked at the screen while thinking about the exchange. Miki noticed that Kasaka had not answered yet. She wondered if he had already gone to sleep, and admitted that she had only looked at the message by chance earlier when she used her phone. Miki was on Kasaka's mind as he came down the stairs. He wondered whether the task would be too difficult, and hoped there might be something that could be done to help her. Kasaka opened the door and looked toward the morning outside. He wondered whether it was not too difficult for Miki, and his dad questioned whether he might already be awake so early. Kasaka's father reacted with surprise when Kasaka approached him. After a brief hum of acknowledgement, he listened as Kasaka asked his dad for a favor. In the school, the celebration erupts as the red team secures an absolute victory. Everyone celebrates the hard-earned result with the proud cry of absolute victory for the red team. Kasaka reflects that the third years have already grown so much and wonders if they have truly matured. Ayachi quietly agrees while the group continues watching the lively scene unfold. He wonders if the next year will be like this year when the festival ends and only entrance exams remain. Ayachi looks ahead with a relaxed smile and feels that there is no other choice but to enjoy the remaining time together. The announcement declares that the first competition comes next. The boys react with a brief "oh" as the start of the event draws near. A running shoe presses firmly against the ground as the competitor prepares to move. The poised foot shows that the race is about to begin. Miki launches into her performance with strong movement and control. Her body turns through the motion as the spectators react with excitement. The boys watching the event are left amazed by her skill and the intensity of the performance. Soyo approaches with a cheerful smile and announces that Aya has come to play. The group gathers together with growing excitement. The sight of everyone getting along makes Soyo react with surprise before she warmly remarks that they are doing well together. Miki returns after finishing her event and raises her hand for a celebratory high five. She admits that she feels happy because she had not been confident about the high jump before competing. Miki receives warm praise for her hard work. The encouragement reaches her after the exhausting event and leaves her with a grateful smile. Miki looks toward Kasaka with bright excitement and eagerly asks whether he was seen during the event. Her expression carries genuine interest as she waits for a reaction to his performance. Kasaka freezes under the sudden attention. His raised hand and strained expression reveal how difficult it is for him to handle the unexpected closeness. She noticed that the tension around Kasaka feels higher than normal today. The quiet exchange makes his nervous reaction even more obvious, as everyone remains aware of the atmosphere between them. Miki stands close to Kasaka after the event and admits that the jump went higher than expected. The unexpected result leaves her searching for the right words. Kasaka praises her with genuine enthusiasm and tells her that she was so awesome during the event. Miki reacts with surprise and quietly asks whether he really thought so. The praise gives her a little more confidence as the conversation continues. Kasaka watched the exchange while one of them excitedly describes how Miki looked as if she were about to fly into the sky during the jump. Another student reacts to the dramatic description and points out that such words sound like kindergarten vocabulary. Kasaka remains beside her with a bright smile and admits that the high-tension Miki from earlier was so cute. Miki tries to hide her embarrassment as she pleads for the earlier subject not to be brought up again. She knows the strange reaction was not intentional, but still feels embarrassed by how revealing it was. A quiet hey draws attention from the nearby group as Ayachi approaches the conversation. Ayachi proudly brings up his result and reveals that he was the one who placed second in the 50-meter dash. He is certain that everyone must have missed the race and points out that there was still plenty of good work during the festival. His cheerful pride keeps the conversation lively as Soyo reacts to his achievement. Miki races across the festival grounds with the relay baton held firmly in her hand. Her long hair streams behind her as she pushes forward with determination, while another girl runs nearby and keeps pace with her. Kasaka takes part in the bread-eating competition and struggles to finish the bread as quickly as possible. He tilts his head back and forces himself to keep eating, while the pressure of the race pushes him to give his best. The crowd has grown so large that finding a good place to watch has become difficult. A woman checks her phone and wonders where Darling went to find a spot, while another reaction points out the huge crowd gathered around the festival. Kasaka's mother stands among the crowded school event while holding her phone. The busy atmosphere makes her think that school events are always this crowded. Miki's mother notices her and asks whether someone is being searched for. Kasaka's mother quickly denies it and insists that nothing is being sought. Her response carries a hint of embarrassment as she tries to avoid revealing the real reason for being there. Miki's mother gently wonders whether the person being searched for is her husband. Kasaka's mother admits that contact with him has been impossible. Miki's mother responds with concern and suggests sitting together until contact is restored. The offer gives Kasaka's mother a quiet place to wait while the crowded school event continues around them. It is almost noon. She remembers that Kasaka planned to eat with his friend. With so many people around her, she wishes for someone to talk to. Kasaka's mother watches the crowded school grounds while holding her phone. Kasaka's mother asks where the second-year Class 2 students are while she notices Miki's mother cute. Miki's mother notices her and laughs softly. She explains that Miki also planned to eat with her daughter's friend. The coincidence makes the conversation easier, as they realize their children have similar plans. Miki's mother looks through the crowd and wonders which student is her son. Kasaka's mother knows Kasaka is not the type who attracts much attention, so finding him is difficult. Miki's mother explains that Miki has blonde hair and should be easy to spot. Yet even with that clear feature, she still cannot find Miki anywhere in the crowd. A large selection of food has been prepared for the school event. Bento boxes are filled with sushi and various side dishes, while many other homemade foods are arranged together for everyone to enjoy. The huge amount of food makes Miki stare in surprise while Ayachi proudly enjoys the reaction. She reacts with a surprise as she takes in the impressive food prepared for the festival. Ayachi looks at the large collection of bento boxes and wonders if Kasaka really made all of them. The answer comes with an eager yes. He explains that he already knew he would not participate much in the sports festival, so preparing the food became his way of helping. Soyo looks at the scene and wonders if Kasaka is really the kind of person who does things like this. Miki explains that he always does things like this and tells her not to be surprised anymore. Ayachi enjoys the food and admits that it looks tasty. Soyo happily agrees that the food is delicious while Kasaka watches with a quiet reaction. Miki takes a bite and quietly enjoys the food. Miki laughs softly while enjoying her food. Her cheerful reaction shows how much she likes the meal and how happy she is with the food prepared for everyone. Kasaka looks genuinely touched by the taste. Miki admits that it is so good and begins to feel overwhelmed by how satisfying the meal is. The simple moment leaves him struggling to put his feelings into words. Kasaka's mother admits that she is usually too busy with work. That is why she rarely comes to school events. Before this, she knew that Kasaka had started caring about his appearance. She also heard that he had recently made friends. Curious about how he was doing, she put her work aside and came to see him. She even started cooking for the event. Preparing the food was the only way she could help him. She wanted to show Kasaka how to do it, so he could learn from her. She quietly reflects on his nature. He is not very skilled, yet he is a hard-working boy who has practiced many times. Her words carry a gentle pride as she remembers how much effort he puts into everything he does. She admits that sometimes the failed attempts became their dinner. She recalls those moments with a small smile, as his mistakes in cooking slowly turned into something useful for the family. Kasaka's father has apparently become involved in the cooking as well. Today he got so absorbed in it that he kept making lunch very early. She admits that it feels like such a stupid topic for a mother to talk about while Miki can only listen to all of it. Kasaka sits with Miki nearby, while the lunch boxes are arranged across the table. She looks pleased with the food and feels sure that the lunch must be delicious. Kasaka's mother feels a little jealous of her son's friend as she watches how close they have become. Miki's mother understands the feeling and remarks that boys seem to grow up in an instant. She wonders if there might be a girl involved as well. Kasaka's mother reacts with surprise at the question. She thinks so too. She admits that there is some truth to it. Kasaka's mother notices that Kasaka's father has finally arrived. The sight brings a small reaction of surprise as the message confirms his arrival. She apologizes for bothering Miki and gently asks her not to say that. She then realizes that her name has not been asked yet and brings up the matter with a warm smile. Miki's mother smiles and introduces herself. Kasaka's mother introduces herself as well. Miki wants to thank her another time and asks if she can have her number. Kasaka's mother warmly offers to share some lunch next time. She tells Miki not to worry about the earlier matter because mothers are allies in giving and receiving help is natural. Kasaka's father walks through the school grounds after going there to deliver lunch. He notices the people around him and quickly apologizes as he makes his way through the busy crowd. Kasaka's mother watches him with a displeased look. She holds her phone while his cheerful attitude seems to irritate her. Kasaka's father notices her and gives a surprised sound. She looks at him without much reaction while remarking that he is in a great mood. Kasaka's mother proudly shares that she made her first mom friend that day. Kasaka's father listens nearby and gives a soft, amused reaction as he takes in her happiness. He watches her with a warm smile and lets out a quiet laugh. Kasaka is happily eating with Miki beside him. She looks at him with a gentle smile and praises the moment by saying that it is great. The simple meal feels more enjoyable as they share the food together. Miki performs a lively fan dance on the phone while everyone watches the recording with interest. The fan moves gracefully through the dance as her performance draws their attention. Ayachi recalls how amazing the match was and how strong the team had been. He also remembers that the previous year had been special because the team was different yet still managed to be very cool. The performance had been so good that even his team's senpai had cried. Kasaka grows tired while watching the video. His head slowly drops as he starts to fall asleep. Ayachi notices him and quickly tells Kasaka not to sleep there. Kasaka wonders Miki nearby and wonders if the person sitting there is Miki. Ayachi beside him quickly corrects the mistake and makes it clear that he is not Miki. He calls the confusion foolish while the two continue sitting together. He asks how things are while still struggling to stay awake. Ayachi becomes frustrated and tells Kasaka to go sleep in his own bed. The teasing continues as Kasaka remains sleepy while Ayachi keeps trying to wake him. Soyo finds their friendship amusing and remarks that they seem like such good friends. She wonders how they became so close in this situation. Kasaka hears that today is the day Miki will be released from Chia and the dating band. The news catches his attention as he realizes what the day means. Ayachi notices that Kasaka has finally woken up and reacts with relief. Soyo notices him as well and thinks Miki may have been caught by the senpais on the way. She compares the situation to handling a pet, while the others react to her comment. The message on the phone mentions that Yuzu has no work today and suggests going home together. Soyo is asked if Miki still has nothing to do while Kasaka is already sleeping there. The plan is to go home together once everything is settled. Kasaka and Ayachi sit together outside, as Ayachi notices that Kasaka is there too. Ayachi questions why Kasaka is empty-handed and wonders if he really wants to go home already. Kasaka explains that some things were left in the classroom. As they start walking home, Soyo notices Kasaka nearly falling asleep while walking. She quickly warns him not to sleep while walking and stays close enough to keep him from stumbling. Kasaka watches Miki's dance on his phone and remembers the moment he saw her performing with the fan. The memory stays with him as he quietly looks at the screen and recalls Miki dancing. Kasaka quietly looks through his bag while thinking about how to approach Miki. He hesitates over what to say and tries to find the right words before meeting her. After waking up early, Kasaka starts feeling sleepy again. He gathers his things while struggling to stay awake and admits that getting up so early has left him exhausted. Kasaka notices Miki with the others and calls out to her. The group is about to have a closing party and invites her to join them. Miki is warmly included as they prepare to spend more time together. The group agrees to go eat yakiniku together. Someone mentions that some second years will also come, while another reminds everyone that the handsome leader will pay for the Kohai's share. The plan makes Miki laugh as she checks that everything is okay. Another person reminds the group that the decision had already been made. Miki checks her phone and agrees to ask her parents for permission. The meeting place is set in front of the station at 17:30. The plan is accepted without any problem. She gives a simple confirmation after hearing the arrangement. Everything is settled for the evening. Miki recognizes Kasaka and freezes for a moment as his presence catches her attention. His name slips from her lips as Kasaka registers the change in her expression, and she quietly wonders why he has appeared there. She asks what is wrong and waits for an explanation as he stands before her without immediately answering. Kasaka finally admits that the situation is inconvenient for Miki. He apologizes while Miki makes it clear that she is still going to do it anyway. Kasaka looks at Miki with a soft expression as he gathers the courage to be honest about what he wants. He tells Miki that today he wants the two of them to go home together. Miki reacts with surprise when Kasaka reaches for her hand. The sudden gesture catches her off guard. Miki struggles to find the right words while standing close to Kasaka. She gives a small hesitant response and admits that she does not know how to explain the situation. Miki asks whether Kasaka have heard about the after-party. The question turns toward Kasaka as the distance between the two draws attention. Miki also hears the remark and wonders if Kasaka has become too close to her. Miki pulls back slightly and asks for a minute. The sudden attention makes the situation awkward as she tries to regain her composure while Kasaka remains beside her. Miki stays close to Kasaka as he leans toward her and rests his head against her. She remains beside him with a soft expression, while his posture shows how comfortable he has become around her. The two eventually end up resting close together on the wall. Kasaka lowers his head beside Miki as the quiet scene leaves them looking almost as if they have fallen asleep together. Miki notices that Kasaka has fallen asleep against her. She looks down at him with surprise and quietly wonders if he has really fallen asleep there. Miki struggles to hold him upright and realizes that Kasaka is unexpectedly heavy. The others begin looking for Miki and wonder where Miki-chan has gone. Their voices draw closer as the search continues through the school. Someone is approached by Sasaki, who notices that something has happened and asks what happened. She explains that her mother suddenly called her and that she cannot attend the after-party, even though she had been invited. She promises to send the group photo later, while apologizing for leaving early. The disappointment is obvious as the after-party continues without her, while he remains behind with the thought that it is a shame she cannot join them. Miki receives the message telling her that she can go ahead without them. She looks at Kasaka beside her and wonders what should be done now. Kasaka remains close to Miki as his head rests against her. Miki stays beside him without pushing him away. The quiet closeness makes it clear that Kasaka has become comfortable enough to lean against her. Miki bends closer and rests against Kasaka as he stays beside her. Miki treats the situation simply and answers with whatever as she continues to stay close. The long day had left him deeply ashamed of how easily he had lost consciousness beside Miki. He apologized for the situation and tried to make things right with an embarrassed apology while she listened beside him. Kasaka finally stirred and tried to recover from the awkward situation. He admitted that exhaustion had made him fall asleep, and that Miki had ended up staying with him after all. She pointed out that it was already so dark outside, and accepted that the long nap had happened because the situation had become unexpectedly comfortable. Miki quietly reflected on the nap, and admitted that it had been a good one. Her attention returned to Kasaka, as he wondered why she had not woken him up. Miki noticed how comfortable Kasaka had looked while sleeping. Miki smiled as Kasaka explained that sleeping like that was not something she normally did. Her laughter softened the awkwardness. Kasaka finally noticed what was beside him and quietly pointed it out as he looked toward Miki. Miki smiled warmly and called it the long-awaited after-school date. She looked happy that the two of them could finally spend time together like this. Kasaka held Miki's hand as they walked together. Their fingers stayed intertwined as the closeness between them became harder to ignore. Miki continued walking beside him while their hands remained together. She wondered if going straight home would be too boring and suggested finding somewhere else to go. Kasaka felt nervous about how close Miki was. She remembered that their hands had been even closer earlier and struggled with what to say about it. Miki thought about the idea for a moment before suggesting ramen. Kasaka asked for any place that had something besides super spicy food. The quick answer left her amused. Next day, Miki walked through the bookstore while Kasaka noticed her nearby. He called out to Miki and caught her attention. Kasaka looked pleased as he found what he had been searching for. He showed it to Miki and happily pointed out that he had found it. Miki looked at what he brought and quietly thanked him for finding it. Soyo noticed Miki looking toward something and wondered what was going on. Miki quietly watched her reaction. Soyo smiled as Miki went to the cashier to pay. The two waited for Miki to finish before leaving together. Kasaka approached Soyo and asked what she had bought. Kasaka showed the book he had bought. Soyo looked at it and suddenly realized what it was. Soyo could not believe Kasaka did not know the work. She held up the book and questioned how he could miss such a great love story. Kasaka explained that he was not acquainted with this kind of culture. Soyo accepted that calling it a culture was all right, but still seemed uncertain about it. Kasaka looked at the book while Soyo described the main character as a regular middle school girl that could be found anywhere. Soyo described the kind of girl who had been longing for her prince riding a white horse since childhood. She wondered if that was the ideal lover. Kasaka considered the idea and wondered if an ideal lover really meant a prince riding a white horse. Kasaka continued with the question of whether all girls had that kind of dream. Soyo thought about Miki and wondered what dating was like for her. He knew that she always broke up with her dates right away. Kasaka suddenly reacted with surprise as the meaning of Soyo's words sank in. Soyo explained that Miki was always the one who broke the relationship. She believed in accepting what came along and understood that people who chose to leave would not return. Even as a childhood friend, she still found Miki's view of love a mystery. She also remembered being surprised when Miki had told Kasaka that everything was okay. Kasaka stood beside Soyo and reacted with a troubled sound as the conversation became difficult to follow. Soyo tried to reassure Kasaka that there was no need to be upset. So far, everything was good for Kasaka, and there was no reason to worry. She quickly assured Kasaka that everything was all right now. She admitted that all the things she had said had not helped much after all. Kasaka considered the suggestion that studying shoujo manga might help. The idea was that Kasaka could learn how a boyfriend acts by reading shoujo manga and studying the behavior shown in them. Kasaka quietly wondered how a boyfriend was supposed to act. Soyo looked at him with clear excitement and insisted that his expression already revealed everything. She praised the boy who played the heroine as super mega cool. Miki smiled as she joked that Soyo seemed good at romance already, even if only a little. The teasing made Kasaka react with surprise while the two girls continued laughing together. Miki wondered what they were doing there. Soyo explained that the purpose was guiding Kasaka in love. She felt certain that he was the favorite to win the challenge. She added that Miki did not even like this kind of manga. Miki explained that it was not about liking or disliking the manga. Somehow a pretty boy always appeared out of nowhere. It felt a little too convenient for someone to be loved so easily. Kasaka questioned whether the story was really that convenient. Miki felt that such a story was too convenient for Kasaka himself. Soyo happily thought it was perfect for dreaming about such things in manga. Soyo considered the idea and added that reality was even stranger than novels, while Miki continued thinking about it. Kasaka looked toward Miki as Soyo called him. He listened quietly while she prepared to bring the manga to school the next day. Miki agreed to bring the manga to school tomorrow and asked how many books Kasaka wanted. Soyo explained that she did not read much manga, so only a little would be fine. She then decided to bring 5 books for him. Kasaka asked Soyo to let him know when she finished reading them and politely asked for them again later. He promised that he would return them by this week. Kasaka then asked if next time even 10 books would be possible, because he wanted all of them. Soyo quietly rested her hand against her face while thinking about the books. Soyo asked Miki whether she wanted to read them as well. Miki simply refused and replied that she did not want to read them. Kasaka sat outside and suddenly noticed Miki nearby. A quiet pause followed as he thought about what had happened. The thought of what had happened made her pause before admitting that something about it was difficult to explain. Kasaka covered his mouth while thinking about the story. He admitted that it had been very exciting. He had expected the story to be about the other girl instead. His thoughts then turned to the question of the boyfriend studies. Miki looked towards Soyo and asked what Kasaka thought about how everything had been. Miki listened closely before considering the strange story that had just happened. Miki noticed some cat hair on Kasaka's clothes and pointed it out. Her attention stayed on the small strand as she quietly remarked that he had some cat hair there. Miki looked at Kasaka with curiosity, as if she had noticed something else. Miki remembered the cat and asked whether Kasaka had been playing with that cat again on the way to school. She seemed pleased by the thought and added that it was good that the cat had let Kasaka play with him. Kasaka quickly hid behind the manga while he pointed out that Miki was similar to the manga's main character. Miki teased Soyo about those kinds of things and pointed out the things Soyo did here and there to provoke Kasaka. Soyo quickly denied it and insisted that it was only teasing Kasaka as always and that it was not like that. Soyo admitted that the teasing was the good part of it and firmly rejected the denial with a clear no. Kasaka looked down at the manga and realized that although the two characters were similar, they were not the same. He had been convinced of that. After reading the manga these days, Kasaka felt more fired up than before. The manga had made his interest even stronger. Miki considered the situation with a thoughtful hum, while Soyo could only react with a quiet sound. Kasaka wondered if that meant that even as a girl he was still afraid of Miki. Soyo found that Kasaka was still fine as always and wondered what that was supposed to mean. Miki could only question what that even meant as she looked at them. Kasaka had become addicted to the manga despite all the pains it brought him. Lying down with the manga in his hands, he kept reading while wondering what the girl had done with the main character. Kasaka's mother noticed that the water pipe was closed and thought how nice it was before realizing that it had already been shut. She remembered closing the water pipe earlier and wondered why she always forgot that it had already been closed. Another noise suddenly caught her attention and made her wonder what the sound was. Kasaka was still awake in bed while reading his manga. He looked toward the sound as she called out that he was still awake, honey. Kasaka's mother noticed the manga in his hands and immediately wondered what it was. Her attention settled on the cover as she realized that it was a shoujo manga. The discovery left her wondering what could have brought Kasaka to read something like that. Her thoughts continued as she considered how Kasaka usually did not even read boys' manga. She remembered what had been heard before and began to see the situation differently. It seemed that the girl in question was more like a girlfriend than just a friend. The realization struck her with sudden certainty as she understood that her son really had a girlfriend. The thought of Kasaka having a girlfriend filled the room with surprise, and left her repeating the idea of having a girlfriend, as if the words themselves were difficult to believe. Kasaka sat with the manga open in his hands, as the thought settled over him that it could be called a textbook on love. He continued studying what he did not know, and reached the conclusion that this was it. His mother looked at him with growing approval, and decided that he was doing very well. As a mother and a woman, she felt that she should be teaching her son about a woman's heart. The thought made her consider what a mother ought to teach him while he was growing up. The realization struck her suddenly, and she stopped to question what she had just thought. Her expression changed as the idea of teaching him about love began to feel far too personal. She finally rejected the idea with a firm no way. Kasaka's dad stepped out into the room and noticed that the lights were off. He paused by the doorway and wondered why the lights were not on. The sight of his mother sleeping nearby made the room even quieter. Kasaka remained seated with his manga in hand. Kasaka noticed that it was already 3 a.m. and wondered what was happening as the woman reminded him that tomorrow required going to work and going to school early. He continued thinking about Chanabayashi-kun and how he could get confessed to in such a way. She wished Yusuko good luck with the situation while Dad looked over and wondered who was being discussed. Ayachi showed Miki the manga and asked if it was the one she wanted. Miki looked at it and quietly reacted to the result. The conversation also mentioned the gacha roll. Ayachi admitted that getting the same result was not certain, but she still wanted to try. She laughed softly as she thought another attempt was coming. Miki recognized the result and realized that it was the one he wanted. The result had made her a hardcore green leaf lifestyle user. Soyo greeted Kasaka. Kasaka turned toward her and answered as he listened to her approach. She reminded him that he had already read all the manga she had lent him. The thought impressed her enough to call it amazing, while she asked how far he had read. She told him that lending manga to Kasaka was always fun. His reactions were more absorbing than expected, and she compared that response to a sponge that took in everything. Kasaka looked at her and wondered what he should borrow next. Kasaka explained that Miki was usually together with Ayachi when she was not by his side. The familiar greeting made Kasaka turn toward him while the conversation continued for a moment. Kasaka was then called by name, as the girl cheerfully promised to bring some more next time, so their break would be shorter. Kasaka continued down the hallway and quietly resumed his walk. The hallway grew quiet again, as everyone returned to their own activities. The story on manga page, so a childhood friend asked whether they were childhood friends, and wondered if that was why those things had never been done. Another thought followed with the feeling that they suited each other well. Kasaka quietly continued reading the manga in his hands. His attention stayed on the story as the busy classroom continued around him. A lively classmate suddenly raised his voice and shouted for everyone to bring it on. The classroom became more energetic, while Kasaka remained focused on his manga. Miki looked toward Kasaka with a quiet expression. Her attention stayed on him as the school days slowly came to an end. Miki then invited Kasaka to leave with her. Kasaka realized that class was already over and prepared to go with her. Kasaka noticed the sudden commotion as someone reacted with surprise for the second time. He remained seated while the others moved around the classroom. A concerned voice asked what was wrong as the unusual reaction caught their attention. Miki approached Kasaka and asked whether he was worried about something. She stayed near him and offered to be there if he wanted to talk. Her quiet concern gave him a chance to open up about whatever was troubling him. Miki heard Kasaka call her Miki-san. She turned toward him with a small smile and asked what he wanted. Kasaka then asked whether Miki knew where Ayashi-san was. Miki looked puzzled as she tried to recall the name. Miki had not expected that Aya would have committee work to do. The news caught her off guard as she looked toward Kasaka and tried to understand the situation. Kasaka suddenly asked Miki whether she could go home first that day. The question came with clear urgency and left her surprised by the request. He gathered his thoughts and felt that there was something important that needed to be said. Kasaka looked upward with a troubled expression as his thoughts became more restless. He seemed ready to respond with the words otherwise he would. Kasaka turned toward Ayachi and called out his name. The sudden movement made him flinch as he reacted to the unexpected situation. He explained that it was just that being called by his name felt strange, because it was the first time he had been called that way. He added that the san sounded gross to him, and asked to be called without it. Kasaka rejected the idea, and explained that Sam was the way she addressed Miki-san and Sasaki-san. Kasaka then asked where Miki was. His attention shifted toward Miki as he waited for an answer. Ayachi remembered what had happened, and explained that Miki had been told to go home first. Ayachi-san asked whether Kasaka would not go home with Miki. Kasaka hesitated, and explained that there was something he wanted to talk about with him. Ayachi asked whether there was any problem with him. Ayachi admitted that he did not know how to explain it, but felt that the matter would be annoying. He asked what it was, and waited for him to continue. Kasaka gathered his thoughts, and began to explain that there was something he needed to say. He struggled to put the feeling into words before deciding to keep it simple. Kasaka finally settled on a simple explanation, and began putting it into words for Ayachi. Kasaka finally gathered the courage to speak to Ayachi, and began with a declaration of war. The words came out with a force that made the situation feel more serious than expected.